Good morning. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I am Glenn Clark. Rami Lavi back in the studio with us one more time this morning. Prince Charles is here as well. We'll have some fighting words coming up a little bit later on in the program. I don't even know what the stories are for fighting words this week. I don't know what the big stories in the world of the fight game
I had to fish a little bit, but
all right.
I got some good stuff.
All right. Last week was such a big week. I don't know what we're doing. Is there a fight this weekend?
Yeah, they have. We talked about last week.
This is the Derek
Vegas,
Lewis.
but it was supposed to be in Seoul, South Korea.
Yeah, so it's at 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
Just very weird. So weird. All right, we'll talk a little bit more about that coming up a little bit later on. Also on the program today, the NFL chick, Syreeta Hubbard, will return to the show. Reeta and Glenn and Reeta, back this Sunday on 105.7 The Fans. We'll talk about that. Also coming up this morning, we will catch up with our friend Walt the Wizard Williams, one of the greatest players in Maryland basketball history. We will talk to him about the Terps as they got a nice win this week over Indiana. But now they got to prove they can win a game on the road, which they've done just once this season, and it was at Louisville, and that doesn't really count because they're barely even a mid-major at this point. So we'll talk to the Wiz about what it's going to take for Maryland to try to translate some success to a true road game on Saturday night. And speaking of Williamses, we're keeping up with the Williamses this morning. Brandon Williams, the man we knew as Big Baby, outstanding defensive tackle over the years in Baltimore, looked like his career was over. And then in November, he got a call from the Kansas City Chiefs, which I guess is not a bad team to get a call from if you're sitting on the beach. Like, I guess I'll go there.
Odell's still waiting for that call.
Yeah, right. And you brought that up yesterday. So Brandon Williams gets the call from the Chiefs, and he says, yeah, I'll come join you. And sure enough, Brandon Williams is playing in his first career Super Bowl, which is cool for me. I happen to really love Brandon. He's a great dude, and we used to do a show together once upon a time. My first son had just been born, and we were out at Box Hill Pizzeria up in Abingdon. And my wife couldn't make it, so my old roommate was there to hold and watch my son, who was a baby at the time, while I did the show. And sure enough, at one point, he walks up to me, and he's like, during a commercial break, he's like, hey, man, I think he's hungry. Like, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I'll feed him. And Brandon, who had a young son of his own, literally grabs my son out of my arms and says, I'll do it. And it's one of my favorite pictures that I will ever have because my son is the size of his bicep. It's just the coolest thing ever. I'll try to find it this morning. Maybe we'll share it out on Twitter.
Yeah, we'll have to tweet that out.
I love me some Brandon Williams. He's going to join us a little bit later on in the program. So that's all coming up on a Thursday edition of the show. Today's show is brought to you by... this one's brought to you by the Baltimore County Police Department, who are still looking for some folks that are ready to maybe be the change that they want to see. Maybe looking for a path, a direction in your life. The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Join BaltimoreCountyPD.com. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, you must be a United States citizen. But if you want to find out more, and they have very competitive salaries, cadets start at over $30,000 a year, officers at over $60,000 a year. You can find out more right now. Join BaltimoreCountyPD.com. As far as news yesterday, a lot of hubbub about this report related to the Baltimore Orioles not exercising this 5-year option for the lease at Camden Yards. And they put out a statement, the governor puts out a statement, and everybody's saying all the right things. And we are to understand that the reason why they're not exercising the lease is because they believe they're going to get a lease done this year that accomplishes the things that they want to have accomplished. Understandably, there is always a percentage of Orioles fans who's going to say, I'm nervous. And I get it. I mean, I do. I'm not trying to tell you that I think you're insane. I think particularly fans of a certain age say, well, nobody ever thought the Baltimore Colts were going to leave. I get it. I understand your apprehension. I've said a million times, the nonsense about Nashville has always been that. It's nonsense. Major League Baseball wants a team in Nashville, to be clear. But they're not giving John Angelos the Nashville market. The Angelos family has been a pain in their ass. Whatever you feel about them, Major League Baseball has dealt with teams suing each other, which is the one thing that's never supposed to happen among owners in a professional sport. Major League Baseball would never reward John Angelos by saying, guess what? We're going to give you this brand spanking new market.
But what?
Strike one. Now, hang on. Strike two, because somebody would say, well, couldn't he sell the team to somebody that would move him to Nashville? Great point. Could. Except for the fact that the state of Maryland just offered to give the Baltimore Orioles $600 million. Now, whatever your opinion of that is, I understand. A lot of people probably don't love the idea of the state giving a professional baseball team $600 million. I have lots of opinions about the relationship between, public and private, and when it makes sense and when it doesn't make sense, and when taxpayers lose and when they win. We try to focus on whatever part of the argument is the one we're most emotional about, and we ignore other impacts of the argument. Like, we pretend like there being a giant baseball stadium isn't a major thing for tourism within a state. And it does help drastically every business that exists downtown. So we can say we shouldn't be giving, the owner of a baseball team state money. And I understand the opinion. I get it. I think it's relevant. But it ain't just the baseball team that benefits from it. It's everyone who owns a business down there. It's everyone whose property would depreciate in value if you lost 80 relevant dates of, even in years where there aren't that many people coming to games, thousands of people coming downtown for baseball games. So I don't have the correct answer to what the appropriate amount of money is. I don't have the correct answer. I can't give you that, but it's all relevant within the discussion. And what's really relevant is Major League Baseball doesn't walk away from a state that just offered to give you $600 million. Insanity. They have to solve actual problems with some of their clubs. Oakland is a huge problem for them right now. Tampa is a massive problem for them. They're not walking away from $600 million of free money. Here, you did nothing today. Here's $600 million. Well, gee, gosh, golly, I don't know. Maybe we don't really love $600 million. I think we'll pass. The absurdity of that. The Orioles aren't moving. Now, I get it. They're playing poker, and nobody likes that. It gets in your feelings. It makes you nervous. I understand it. The Orioles aren't moving. What they are trying to do is create a scenario either for if John Angelos is going to continue to be the owner of the team moving forward, which I think most people believe is unlikely, but for him to maximize his value, either as the owner or in selling the baseball team. And by doing that, as a lot of people pointed out yesterday on Twitter, if you've been to St. Louis recently, since they upgraded the area around the baseball stadium, if you've been to Wrigley Field, since they upgraded, this idea that he describes as Baltimore's second renaissance, the Orioles keep using that term, which is way over the top, but I get what he's trying to say, which is this ain't just about the stadium. We're trying to create an area around the stadium that lives and breathes even when there isn't a baseball game going on, which is what they've done successfully in other cities. So we're going to sign the lease the moment that we believe that we can get the absolute most. You're saying we get $600 million for the stadium. Great. Now we want to see a commitment from you about the area around the stadium. Because while we can say that there are are plenty of people that go to baseball games, and local politicians will be particularly dismissive whenever anyone says, well, I'm afraid to go downtown anymore. They say, really? You weren't afraid to go downtown when Paul McCartney was at the stadium? Really weird how you say that. Because you were all there. I know. I saw all of you there. I was there because I'm an old white man. Like, it was the old white man convention in Baltimore. We had a great time. We were all there. So when you guys try to say, well, I'm afraid to go downtown. No, you're not. You were happy to go downtown when Paul McCartney was downtown. When Billy Joel was downtown, you were happy to be there. If Bruce Springsteen, who's playing at the arena, is downtown, you're happy to be there. But I get it. There is still a reputation that comes along with downtown Baltimore. There's still a conversation that exists about safety in downtown Baltimore. And the Orioles are trying to say, let's remove some of that blight by making the area around the stadium live more. It's one thing when there's an event downtown, there's lots of people. But I think we all know, the nights where there's not an event downtown, it's not as alive. It's, there are nights you go down there and there's nobody there, particularly when the weather's not great. So why don't we upgrade the area around the stadium, give people more of a reason to live there, work there, have activities there, things along those lines, and improve the entirety of the region. It all sounds great. It all also costs money. The behind-the-scenes belief has been that the Orioles have always known they were going to get something done, but they were going to choose to do that deal with Wes Moore and not with Larry Hogan. And if you know the politics of the Angelos family, you probably understand why that would be. Whereas the Ravens were more inclined to announce the extension of their lease while Larry Hogan was still governor. Check. If you understand the politics of the leadership of the Ravens, that kind of made sense too. I can never tell you that I know something that I don't know. I don't know how this is going to end. But it is absurd to think that it ends with the Orioles moving to Nashville. Patently absurd. To pretend like there's even a 10% chance of that would be nonsense. It doesn't work that way. Teams don't move, or they're not allowed to move when they have everything. The other owners would be furious. And they have to approve it, by the way. Like, the other owners are the ones that would have to approve it. They would never be on board with it. They would never say, you got $600 million for free, and you want to move? Get the entire F out of here with that. It ain't happening. But I get it. I get why you just want, all you want to hear, the only message you want is, we've announced a new lease. It's the scene in Tommy Boy, which, of course, neither of these guys have seen, because it's an American classic, and they're too young. Go watch Tommy Boy, both of you. It's one of the most phenomenal films ever made. But it's the scene with the guarantee, and he's like, "Oh, it's got to be your bull. I can get a good look at a T-bone by sticking my head up a butcher's ass." But it's the whole thing. We all want the guarantee. We all want the guarantee fairy to tell us that everything's going to be okay. So I get it. Until that happens, we're always going to be nervous about this. But being as realistic as possible, there is no practical scenario in which this ends with the Orioles moving. And it's just all kind of part of a process. It's frustrating, and for Orioles fans' sake, you would like to just get an announcement tomorrow, hey, new 30-year lease. And then we can all breathe a sigh of relief. Frankly, I just like to know what the plan is. I'd like to see it come to fruition. I like the idea of an investment downtown. I like the idea there's going to be a new arena, a new-ish arena. I mean, obviously it's in the same location. It's going to be a box, which is so stupid. But at least It's going to be new, and it's going to have improved sight lines, things like that. I mean, there are good things about the new arena. If you could pair that with a new stadium village or whatever it is that you want to call it, I think that goes a long way to improving the downtown experience for tourists, for more events coming to Baltimore over the years. These, to me, are all good things. So it's not just that I want to know because of whatever concern that somebody has about the future of the Orioles. I want to know because I want to see what it looks like. I want to be able to say, like, damn, that looks cool. I'm stoked. Awesome. We've seen Topgolf is already open. That's a good thing. The casino, you can have whatever opinion you want to have about the casino, but that was a part of downtown that why would you have ever been going to in the past? Hammerjacks, the whole thing. Like these are good things. I like the idea of more of downtown being livable, being, part of the city that we have reason to go to. It's good for everyone involved. I mean, obviously, unless somebody's being forced out of their homes, that's a different conversation for a different day, and that's, we'll talk about that at that point. We're still thinking there's going to be a new Pimlico at some point, although a lot of feet dragging about that. We've got a bill. We've got the money. Again, these are conversations for different days. I'm sort of clouding it, but these are good things. These inherently are good things. Are they the most appropriate way to allocate money? Plenty of room for debate about that. You can tell me all day we shouldn't allocate a penny to stadiums. We should allocate it all to schools. And it's a lot of moral authority with that argument, right? Like, yes, everything should go to schools always, but also we have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We also have to be able to improve schools while improving the infrastructure of a city. We have to figure out a way to do all of these things. So, sure, I definitely want to make it very clear. I want schools to improve too. I'm Glenn Clark, and I approve this message. Paid for by Rami Lavi, treasurer of Glenn Clark for, I don't even know what office I would run for. I want all of these things, but this is part of it. This is infrastructure. We can say it's about a stadium, and yes, it is, but it's part of the infrastructure of a city. It's part of making people want to come into the city from other parts of the state, from other places. A lot of Orioles fans. The Orioles hadn't played in St. Louis in 20 years until they went last season. And a bunch of our buddy Andrew Stecca, for example, who might be listening this morning, said, "Dude, have you been since they redid the air? It's insane. It's incredible." I think if anybody's gone up to Philadelphia and experienced what do they call that little area right there in the middle of all the stadiums? It's called
it's not the Comcast Center, but it's the
Xfinity.
Xfinity.
Yeah. So they have the baseball stadium, the football stadium, the arena, and then in the middle of all of it, and it's a little bit different because it's not woven into downtown. It's obviously in the south part of the city, but there's an area there that people can go to and do things and eat and drink.
A bunch of bars, restaurants.
Exactly right. I like that idea. I don't want anybody to run, pickles or sliders out of town because it's part of the fabric of the city, but I like the idea of there being a reason for people to be in that part of town even when there isn't a baseball game going on. Because I think we've all been on a night when there isn't a baseball game going on, and it is a ghost town. I love sliders. I've gone into sliders the day that I was going to an event at the arena, and there were 4 people in there. I like the idea of there being more reason for there to be people at that point. So I hope that proves to be the case. We will see how this all plays out. That's what's going on, and again, there is no reason for you to be fearful about Nashville. That's nonsense. If you've not picked up the print issue of Press Box, it is available for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. On the cover, that's Adley Rutschman, our Mogaba Sports Person of the Year. This is our best of issue, and it's only on stands for another week and a half or so, and then it makes way for a new print issue of Press Box. So go get this one right now, again, for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms or any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. This Sunday, the return of Reeta and Glenn on the Fan. Oh, you want to? Yeah, give me a little. Oh, is this just the instrumental part? Oh, there we go. I love that. Joining us now, she is the NFL chick. My co-host, Sundays on 105.7 The Fan. Whoa, I don't know what happened there. I don't know what happened. It was all going so well there for a
Sounded so
second.
good.
Reeta, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
I was like, hey, what's that?
Yeah, Rami was
There's only
doing,
once I turned the phone on that I don't know.
I don't know what that was all about. Rami was doing serious producing there. I was enjoying that. What's going on, friend? How are you?
Oh my God. Good morning, guys. How you doing?
I'm all right. I realized last year, I don't remember when we started this. We started, I want to say, like in April. And so we were able to get.
April. It was April.
We got through some of these doldrums of like waiting. Like I am so sick of every day coming in here and trying to talk about, offensive coordinator and saying, what does it matter? I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Like I hate the fact that we're doing this show and for the first, I don't know how many weeks, everybody just wants to talk about what's going on with Lamar Jackson, and the answer continues to be we don't know, and it's infuriating as hell.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is the bad part about the, off season, right? Particularly this season, because there's certainties at the quarterback position and the offensive coordinator position at the moment. So it's like, what exactly is it that, you have to look forward to? I mean, free agency, I guess, maybe. I mean, because that's coming up in March, and then you got the draft that's coming up after that. But it's just too many uncertainties at this point. I really wish that they would just get this over and done with. Whether it's, sign, trade, don't linger this out, man. Come on. Make a decision and let's move along, please.
I am of the opinion, too, that, like, this has to be figured out by the draft. Like, I have come around.
I hope so.
You know that, I don't care. You're gonna miss me with the, well, we can't do this guaranteed money. Stop with all that nonsense. You can do whatever you want to do. I am of the opinion that you just get it figured out, and this is insane. The idea of moving on from Lamar Jackson is so absurd. I can't even believe we're talking about it, but I get it. It's real. It's something they're discussing. But the point that you just brought up, the whatever you're going to do, figure it out. What are you waiting for? And the ability to put a team on the field, you paid Lamar Jackson a franchise tag number this year. You're essentially saying, well, we can't go out and do much at wide receiver, so we're kind of stuck. DeMarcus Robinson's going to have to be back. Like, what is the point of any of this to just drag this out and do it again? Figure it out, solve the problem, and if you decide that you're unwilling to pay Lamar Jackson what he's looking for and what he's worth on the market, then get it done now and figure out who your quarterback's going to be. I'm going to kill you over it. I'm not going to say it's okay, but you have the opportunity to prove me wrong. Like, you can say we think that we love Bryce Young. I don't know. I am 100% with you. If you're going to do this, do it and go draft a quarterback and figure it out.
That's the thing, right? Like you have to figure out, and you have to make a smart trade. It has to be somebody that has a top 5 pick at the moment, because you really have a need at quarterback if you decide to trade Lamar Jackson. And the thing is that, as of right now, to me, it's either going to be CJ Stroud or Bryce Young in terms of, like, to me, they're the most NFL ready. Everybody else is an experiment. I'm not a huge on Will Levis like everybody else is. I mean, and I watched him because, I'm a Gator fan. He played at Kentucky. Does he have some things about him that I like? They're going to try to tell you he's like Josh Allen, and I don't necessarily see that, but that's me. Then you got Anthony Richardson, obviously played for my college team. He's really, really raw. Yes, there's talent there, but I mean, how much do you trust the Ravens to coach up Anthony Richardson, who honestly could have probably used another year in college to get more experience because he only played one full college season? So you really have to, it's all about who you're going to trade them to if that's going to be the case. Because, again, Stroud and Young, to me, appear to be the most NFL ready. And then everybody else is a project with talent. So that's the part. How far are you going to hinder yourself back if you're moving on from Lamar Jackson? That's something that you have to take into consideration. And so, this is just that's what happens when you are in limbo, right? Like now we're having conversations about who exactly they're going to draft if they move on, because we don't know what's going to happen, and it's an unfortunate conversation that we're having because they probably should have just gotten this done last year, but here we are. So unfortunately, we got to start having these conversations because it is a very real possibility that he could be traded.
It's insane. I mean, it's just utterly insane to me, and it's been brought up by a few people. This has never happened before. Like, I get it. They have the right to try to draw this thing out as long as they want to, but they know how much it would hurt them to have Lamar Jackson play on the franchise tag this season. Like, they know how critical that would be, and any conversation we were having about the idea of trading for DeAndre Hopkins goes out the window in that moment, and you're stuck with you damn well better be drafting a wide receiver early and praying for the best for Rashad Bateman, and I don't know what you come up with from there. I also just don't know how you get the guy you want in this offensive coordinator search. I keep saying this, Reeta. Like, obviously there's only 32 of these jobs. And we know that the Ravens organization has proven to be more stable than a lot of organizations, right? Like, we're all kind of trying to figure out what in the world DeMeco Ryans is thinking going to Houston at the moment. But, like, we get that the Ravens offensive coordinator position is still probably more desirable than some just based on the nature of those franchises. Like, I think anybody would rather be in Baltimore than Washington no matter what. But if you have identified someone and they're the guy, and let's say it's Eric Bieniemy, right? Like, and you're Eric Bieniemy and you don't know, like, what the quarterback situation is going to be, how are you getting the guy? You can get a guy, but how are you definitively getting the guy and saying, oh, and by the way, we're not really sure how this is going to shake out quarterback-wise for the next couple of years?
Right. That's the thing, right? Like, what are we doing here, Glenn? Like, what are the Ravens doing here? I would really love to know the plan that they have. Like, obviously, they ain't going to tell us. They ain't going to be like, here, Reeta, here, Glenn, this is the plan that we're dealing with right now, right? Because it's none of our business. But this is just such an unlikely situation, and it puts everything in limbo. We heard at the presser, Harbaugh saying, oh, Lamar is going to be the person that's going to help us pick the OC. I mean, and look, that was all nice. I really feel like Harbaugh really wants Lamar to be here. I'm not saying that the front office doesn't. Let me be clear. But, you hear the sincerity and, Harbaugh wanting this to be over and done with, probably because, his job plays a role into whatever they do at the quarterback situation. And, it's better to know what you have than bringing in somebody that you really don't know is going to be, what they're going to be, right? So I'm sure there's some ties for that reason. But ultimately, Harbaugh was very, optimistic about essentially something being done, them having talked to the offensive coordinator. But that sounded good. But the reality is this. We have no idea what's going on. And anybody that's the offensive coordinator sees that too. Now, here's the thing. If the Houston Texans can get a good guy in DeMeco Ryans, and we know that they are a trash organization who have fired black coaches in the last couple of years, then the Ravens can certainly find an offensive coordinator who says, I don't care who you bring in here, I'm going to call the plays that's going to make this offense go, right?
Of course.
So there's always that possibility. But it just feels like this is just the most unlikely situation right now because nobody knows who the quarterback is going to be as of February the 2nd, which, is problematic, right?
100%. It's so funny you bring up DeMeco Ryans. Our buddy Jason on Twitter the other day was doing the International Players Anthem bit. He was doing the don't do it, reconsider, read some literature on the subject with DeMeco Ryans. And I was like, bro, I don't know what he's doing either, but he got a 6-year deal. So if they roll him out next year, he's going to be handsomely rewarded.
There's a lot of ties to that.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And
there's a lot of ties.
Of course.
Yeah.
He played there the whole thing. Reeta is with us here on
And
Glenn.
wife is from there. So, happy wife, happy life. She's probably the one that said I wanted to go home. He had to do what he had to do.
I hear you. But what about when he says to her, yeah, but you might only be home for about 10 months. We might be on the road again at that point. Rita's with us
Yeah.
on Glenn Clark Radio. Reeta and Glenn returns this Sunday, 1 o'clock on 105.7 The Fan. And then she leaves me for a week after that. She makes a 1-week cameo, and then she leaves me next
Payback
week.
for the last week of the season.
That's
I'm
true. I did
sorry.
bail on her to go to Disney World the last week of the season. That is a good point, Rami. Speaking of which, I
It's
want to
okay.
I want to revisit something from that night. And it's a difficult question because I respect, you know that there are people in this city that are John Harbaugh haters, cough, cough, Ken Zales. You know there are people in this city that are Eric DeCosta haters, and I'm not either one of those things. I think John Harbaugh is a Hall of Fame caliber coach. I think Eric DeCosta, has probably made more good moves than bad, right? Like I don't really know yet fully exactly what Eric DeCosta is a general manager, but I think that for the most part, he's done a pretty good job. I said something that night, and I haven't shaken from it. Like, part of my issue with all of this is I don't know in what world either of them at this point in their careers would be above the quarterback in the pecking order for this organization. And this is the part that I'm struggling with Steve Bisciotti, which is I like John Harbaugh. But, the things that people point out are true, right? Like, it is unfair to define John Harbaugh by the idea that he's only won 2 playoff games since 2012, but it's not also untrue, right? Like, that's real. And Eric DeCosta.
Why do you consider that to be unfair? Is it because there's like intangible parts that play a part in that?
Because it's completely devoid of context. It's completely devoid of, well, what would have happened if Lamar Jackson had been healthy these last 2 seasons? It's completely devoid of what is John Harbaugh's fault in all? Did he fail? Did he not get enough out of rosters that were built to go win the Super Bowl? Or would the argument be that most of the time none of us thought these were really Super Bowl championship caliber rosters? Like, it's just completely devoid of context to paint that and say that's the story of John Harbaugh. But as I always bring up, it's also true. Eric DeCosta isn't Ozzie Newsome, right? Like, Eric DeCosta's done a pretty good job, but he's not the architect of multiple Super Bowl championship teams. I don't know in what world we're saying it's okay for anyone in this organization to say, we're moving on, choose us over the quarterback. That part, I don't think anyone here has earned that. I don't think anyone here has earned the right to say, we're more valuable, we get to move on from this quarterback. To my point, if I was Steve Bisciotti and these people presented me we just can't get this thing done, it's time, we got to make a trade, my answer would be, or I need to find a general manager that's going to get this thing done. And I get it. What I'm really saying is Steve Bisciotti's got to be willing to pay the money, and I don't know. But I am struggling with the idea that it's just okay to say, we have every reason to trust Eric DeCosta and John Harbaugh with another quarterback, instead of saying, like, no, you guys said this was the guy. You guys tied him to it. He played out. Now we got to have a quarterback here. It's got to be this one. You don't just get to move on from this.
I agree with that. I mean, that's a fair logic. But do we think that Bisciotti believes that? That's the thing, right? Like, do you believe that he thinks that? I mean, and obviously it's all hypothetical because we don't know.
Right.
But I'm gonna be honest with you, Glenn. I think Bisciotti plays a role into all of this. I think that he has allowed them to just be good teams that make the playoffs, and he's content with that. And to me, that's problematic, because if that were the case, after 2019, you would have said, go find a number 1 receiver to build around him outside of Marquise Brown, and you didn't do that. The way that the Eagles did it, that's what an owner would do. And to be fair, Lamar obviously in 2020 was coming off of a unanimous MVP season, was worlds high better than what Jalen Hurts was prior to bringing in A.J. Brown and them going after Devontae Smith. So I don't understand why you didn't kind of force the issue then, which tells me he's just as complacent as everybody else. That's where I stand with that. Because if that was the case, what happened in that playoff game is embarrassing. After being 14-2, what are you going to do to maximize the talent here? And in order to do that, you would have had to get another guy that would have taken you over the top, and they didn't do that. So my thing is how much is it that Bisciotti is a part of this equation as the other guys that you mentioned? And to me, he's just as guilty as the others.
I don't think that's unfair. I think there's absolutely, and whether it's, guilty, I'm trying to be fair when I say this. I don't think that anybody is just like, it's cool if we never win a Super Bowl as long as we win 9 games, but I think there's
I don't either.
I think there has always been the mentality of just build a team that plays defense and runs the football. That's what we do here. That's Baltimore. That's how things work. I don't know if you did you get a chance to watch the 30 for 30 yet?
Not yet, but
Okay.
I'm going to watch it tomorrow.
I think there's still a lot of romanticism, right, in Baltimore for that, and at the top of the organization. I still think there is. I brought this up all the time. The notion that any one of these people was more inclined to keep Greg Roman around than the other. Like, there were always people that were saying to me, well, John Harbaugh's got to go because he wants to have Greg Roman. I'm like, what makes you think that it's John Harbaugh alone? Like, in what world do you think that Eric DeCosta is hell-bent on doing something different and John Harbaugh is holding him up and has the control in this situation? Like, all of these people have been on board with this. Like, they've all been on board with the best way to have a franchise is to run the ball and play defense. That's Baltimore. That's what we do here. And so when you bring up the wide receiver position, I think you're right. I don't think it's one particular person's opinion that has led to them devaluing wide receiver in the last few years. I think it's the entirety of the leadership. And at some point, the buck really does stop with the owner of the football team. Like, at some point, this falls to him, and you say, dude, if you don't want to actually do the things that are necessary, we're going to have to be mad at you at some point. Like, at some point, this fan base is going to have to say, like, you're the one. Steve Bisciotti could walk in tomorrow and say, what are we doing? Give the guy whatever money he's asking for. This is the way the NFL works. You have to have a quarterback or you have nothing. He has the ability to do that tomorrow.
I just don't believe that he feels that way, though, Glenn.
Right.
And I think that's the problem. Because we heard him come out and say, and look, what he said, I'm sure lots of owners have said. The problem is that we heard him say it. That's the problem. I feel some type of way about fully guaranteed contracts. Again, I don't think that that's an issue across the board. I think that most owners feel that way.
Yep.
The problem is I heard my team's owner say
Correct.
it. So so I know where he stands with that. And then also, you start looking at the money and hearing about the money. First of all, let me say this. I don't think that Ryan Clark's report was accurate at all. I believe he got that from an NFLPA person, which they have a clear agenda when it comes to Lamar Jackson, because we heard too many other reports about what they allegedly offered him, and it was not in the same realm as Ryan Clark. So let me be clear on that. I think that report was BS. And by his own colleagues, we heard a different report. So there's that. And so it's easy to be manipulated when somebody wants to get a message out, and the NFLPA was actually talking to Ryan Clark. So there's that. That being said, why did you think that he was worth Kyler Murray money? Why was Kyler Murray why was that range it, and why wasn't it a little bit more? Because he's done more than Kyler Murray. And so my thing is that I find it hard to believe that the owner isn't involved to some degree, and that I'm not saying that he has his foot all. I don't think he's Jerry Jones by any means. I think for the most part, he minds his business, but he also writes the checks. So obviously conversations has to be had to some degree. And so I just believe that there's some complacency going around there on all levels, on the head coaching level, on the GM level. And this is not necessarily just an Eric DeCosta thing. I feel like that's kind of how this went, post Anquan Bolden. They got Steve Smith and they did, go to the divisional round that one year. But really, what have they done since that? What kind of free agents have we really seen them bring in since that? What kind, you know what I'm saying? When you start looking at drafts, what were they doing there? So now you have a quarterback that potentially is generational, and you're on the same page. I'm not saying, and I don't even think Lamar is even asking for a fully guaranteed contract. I'm sure he was like, I would prefer a fully guaranteed contract, but if that's not what y'all want to do, this is the amount of money that I would like guaranteed, right? And even then, it seems like it was a conflict there. And so I'm not really sure what the Ravens think, but quarterbacks don't get cheaper. They get more expensive every year. And you can clearly see that when you look at the salary cap, when you look at the franchise tag number. The expected exclusive tag is $45 million.
Yep.
So I don't know what you think that you're going to do here. It's not going to get cheaper. And if you think you can just stop and play some regular quarterback with this regular talent around them, then you're going to be on the outside looking in for years to come. And if you're just being complacent with being good enough to go to the playoffs but not doing anything about that, then to me that's a problem. That's a problem from the top, from the front office, from coaching. That's a problem. And your fan base is going to let you know it's a problem. And I think that you need to do something about it sooner rather than later.
It is weird to me how many people fight about this thing with Lamar. It is weird to me, and I think that there's certain things we can point out about this fan base and who's in favor of just paying Lamar whatever he wants and who isn't. I think that we can find out what those people have in common, but it is really weird to me when I hear anyone within a fan base say, well, yeah, but, you got to be a little bit worried about the fact they didn't finish the last 2 seasons. What does that mean? Does that mean you think Lamar Jackson can't play football again? Because the debate that the Ravens are having isn't we don't want Lamar Jackson to be the quarterback. It's about literally a 5th year of flexibility within a contract. Imagine fumbling the greatest quarterback you've ever had over a debate about how much flexibility you'll have against the cap in the 5th year of the contract. Imagine that being the reason. Nobody over there is saying we don't want Lamar Jackson to be the quarterback. The debate is about how much guaranteed money, which again is exactly as relevant as your ability to get out of a contract in 5 years. That's what you're going to fumble the quarterback over? That's the part that's going to make you say, we just can't do this. We're going to have Derek Carr play quarterback for us next season.
And then really Derek Carr, I know you don't think Derek Carr is the end. Again, what is that, Glenn? A plug and play. That's a plug and play. Because although Derek Carr does have talent, he has a ceiling and that he just cannot get past. I don't believe that about Lamar. I believe that Lamar's ceiling can be moved because of his work ethic. I think Derek Carr is who he is, and he's not going to change. So if you decide to say, let's move on for Lamar and bring in a Derek Carr, and you still got the people. We saw what Derek Carr did with Devontae freaking Adams.
Right.
What do I expect him to do with it? The dudes that they have on this roster now.
Yep.
Seriously.
He was
embarrassing. Embarrassing.
It's insane. I mean, it's insane the way this conversation goes and the way that people fight about and again, to your point, we don't know with certainty that what he's looking for is fully guaranteed. Although, the point has been made that the NFLPA certainly wants him to fight over fully guaranteed. I mean,
absolutely.
D. Smith laid that out in Ryan Clark's podcast, right? Like he said very clearly, we need somebody to go to war over fully guaranteed contracts. Like we need someone to step up and say, this is what we're doing now. You have to deal with it. I'm not agreeing to anything. But we don't know with certainty, to your point, and I have heard that while, it might not be fully guaranteed, it would definitely be more than what's been put on the table, what's been reported that it would take to get something done. But even if it was, I just don't get why we're fighting about it. How does it impact your life, Steve in Odenton? How does it impact your life?
Bob in Parkville.
Yeah, whoever you are, whether or not the Ravens end up giving fully guaranteed money to Lamar Jackson, what are you panicked about?
Because people take this way too seriously, and you know that. You know sports is now fandom has.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay, but as a fan, I can understand. It makes sense to be panicked about not having a quarterback. We saw what that looked like at the end of the season.
Sure.
That's worth being panicked about, is not having a quarterback. Even within the context of fans are all crazy. I get that. That is hell. That is purgatory in football, is having no quarterback. That being panicked over the idea that if Lamar Jackson were to suffer a serious injury 3 years down the road, that it would hurt you 5 years down the imagine that being the thing that you're worked up about as a fan. Oh God, I don't know, in 2028 there's a scenario by which something could go wrong and this could really hurt. Imagine caring about that. What is your life if that is what you're worried about right now? My God. Get a hobby. Do something.
No, I mean, look, it's not enough people out here that touch grass for me.
Yeah.
Get out the basement and go touch some grass. Go smell the fresh air.
Right.
I know it's winter time, but we've had a pretty mild winter up until like yesterday. Go outside.
Anything.
It's okay.
Anything. Go
Do something different.
And again, I get why it is that football teams don't want to do that. They want as much flexibility as they can get, but there's a limit. That limit is you're going to hurt your football team. You're going to hurt your team this year if you play them on the tag. You're going to hurt yourself by risking not having a quarterback. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it for the fight. It's not worth it. All right. So I guess
completely agree.
We'll be doing more of this. We'll be doing more of this.
Because we didn't do enough of it during Ravens pre and post game.
We'll be arguing more about it.
God, this is what we've got. What else are you like? What else do you care about right now? Because we know your top 3 things are the NFL, the Orioles, and college football. So none of those things are going on for a little while after next week. What do you get into?
I like basketball. I mean, I don't really like it until playoffs, but in February, I feel like you kind of like in the trenches. I like March Madness, so we have that to look forward to. So I'm excited about that. I do watch other sports. I just watch football and Orioles more. So there's that. You know what I mean? But I actually was interested last night because I saw Florida upset Tennessee last night. I've been paying attention, Glenn. Don't do me like that.
All right, so, but you're not gonna you don't care about Maryland basketball at all, right? Like you're not gonna tune in.
I do. I obviously I root for Maryland basketball.
Okay.
I want them to win. I mean, they're kind of mid though. So.
All right, okay, that's enough out of you. That's enough out of you. Get out of here with all this.
They're a little mid. So I'm trying to get excited about Maryland basketball. I really am, but
how worried do I need to be that by May you're gonna have to say I'm sorry I can't do this anymore because now I'm a star on Peacock? Like how worried am I gonna have to be?
Oh boy, bye, please. I wish. I mean, I don't wish, but I get out of
here. You're gonna be on with those guys this afternoon, right?
Yes, I'm going to be on there this afternoon. I'm assuming we're going to be talking about NFL playoffs because, those games need to be discussed, man.
Yes.
Champions games need to be discussed, so we got to talk about it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm excited to come back Sunday. I missed you, friend.
I love you. I can't wait to do it all. We'll bring back all of the segments that you love. We'll bring back I'm Tired.
Yeah.
We'll bring back As Seen on Twitter. We'll bring back Sunday Scaries. We'll be doing all that stuff. Sunday 1 to 4 on 105.7 The Fan. Of course, at the NFL Chick on Twitter. And you guys, what's the podcast schedule now for you?
Winning Drive will be there's a new one that came out yesterday. There's another one that will be dropping tomorrow. Gridiron Gals will also be dropping probably tomorrow. So I mean, we got stuff going on. And again, I'm on Peacock today at 3:20 on Brother from Another talking NFL playoffs
with Michael Holley and Michael Smith. All right, my friend, I love you. I'll see you Sunday. Thank you.
It's Sunday, friend.
It's the NFL Chick, Syreeta Hubbard, with us here on GCR. Look, I get it. I am not dismissive of the fact that the Ravens want to negotiate as much as they can. I brought this up last year. Last year, it didn't hurt the Ravens in any way. You'd argue it helped the Ravens that Lamar Jackson didn't hold out, that he didn't demand a contract or a trade. It was beneficial to the Ravens, unless, of course, it impacted whether or not he was on the football field at the end of the season, and then it wasn't very beneficial to the Ravens. But for the most part, the number was quite reasonable for him. He left money on the table. That's the reality of last season. I thought it was insane that he didn't hold out. He left money on the table. He played for a number that was significantly below market value last season for a quarterback. But for the Ravens, no problem. Now it's a problem for the Ravens. I didn't scream about it last year because it didn't impact the Ravens. Now it impacts the Ravens. If Lamar Jackson plays on the exclusive franchise tag this season, that's a problem. That limits what you can do to put the best football team on the field. And if you trade Lamar Jackson, you don't have a quarterback. All of it hurts the Baltimore Ravens. So now I got some piss and vinegar in me. And look, does it mean that if they were to do this, they couldn't draft and find a quarterback and get a solution. Of course it's possible they could. But it could also go the other way. They could also draft Kyle Bowler. They could also become the New York Jets and never have a quarterback. And Rami beg for a 50-year-old to come play quarterback for them because that's what you have to hope for in life because all of your quarterbacks have stunk.
Like Derek Carr's 31, by the way, also. It's not like he's young.
No,
you know what he is.
Derek Carr is not an answer to anything.
Yeah.
He's not, in any world, an answer to something.
These fans also who complain about paying him, it's not your money.
But that part bothers me a little bit, but I also get it. You want to be able to put the best team on the field. I can understand...
What team without Lamar is the best version of the team?
No. But I would understand people fighting about whether or not, for example, I'm trying to think of a good argument for this. Who's somebody that's coming up for a contract that there is real debate about whether or not they are truly a franchise? I could understand in New York. Oh, you got one, Charles?
Go ahead.
Daniel Jones. Yeah.
Daniel Jones, exactly
Yeah.
right. I could understand having a legitimate debate in New York about Daniel Jones.
Saquon Barkley is a better argument, right? Because he's a running back.
Of course, there's always conversation for something like that. But the quarterback position, it really is as black and white as you either have a quarterback or you don't, right? You can survive without a running back. You can survive without a lot of things. You cannot win a Super Bowl without a quarterback, a legitimate, real, high-level-ish quarterback. So I could understand there being a debate in New York. I could absolutely understand there being people that have one opinion. I've seen a lot of good things, and on the other side say, we know he's not at the upper echelon of NFL quarterbacks. You can't do this. There is a
Washington dealt with this with Kirk Cousins a few years ago. Yeah.
Definitely did.
Yeah.
And, there were a lot of people that had the opinion of he's not that guy.
And who won that at the end of this, right? Minnesota paid him. They made a bunch of playoffs, but they didn't do anything. Washington did.
Right. The best they had to show for it was an NFC Championship game, right? That's the best they had to show for it. Now, somebody might say, what would they have been otherwise, right? And that's always the debate about these.
Wasn't the championship game the year before Kirk Cousins? Wasn't that
the Minnesota Miracle? Remember?
That wasn't Cousins.
That was Keenum.
Oh, God, that was Keenum.
Yep.
Son of a bitch. It was Keenum.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
And they got their doors blown off also in Philly.
Yes, correct. That did happen. Damn, I forgot that was Keenum.
That's why they went out and got Kirk Cousins, essentially, because of that game.
Bitch. I completely forgot about that. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, you're right. Now, they've got a bunch of regular season wins to show for it, right? They've got a ton of wins. They've been competitive. They've been worth watching on Sundays if you live in Minnesota. But no.
There's not much else worth doing on Sundays in Minnesota during the winter.
Okay. All right, guy. All right. There's been a difference between them and the Houston Texans, for example. There's been a difference between them and some of the more moribund franchises, and because they have at least a competent level of quarterback play. But it's competent. That's what it is. And I'm sure there have been plenty of people in Minnesota that would have said, Charles is a Vikings fan. I don't know how he feels about it.
The difference is Lamar's better than all those guys.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
There's no debate about this. He's a dude.
But Flacco was a pocket passer.
All right, Ronnie. All right, Ronnie. Love that. I do love that guy. I love Stabby. Look, man, I'm befuddled by we get to this point. My buddy Randy Morgan, who writes for Drew, always tries to go back and forth with me about this. Look at the Kyler deal is perfect because in year 5 you could get out of it. That's it. You're fighting about that. You're fighting and saying we might be better off not having a quarterback over the idea that you want to be able to get out of a 5th year of the deal. You might not have a quarterback for 5 years versus there's a chance that the 5th year might end up being a problem. That's what you're fighting over. Nah, dude. Not here.
Would you trade for Kyler Murray? No, right?
No, not in a million years. Not in a million years. Okay, that's part of the equation, too. Is the reason why you can't get the Kyler Murray deal is because, as Reeta pointed out, Lamar Jackson is better than Kyler Murray. That's where we are. All right, we are winding down hour number 1 of the program. Reeta and Glenn returns this Sunday, 1 o'clock on 105.7 The Fan. Today's show is also brought to you by PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Thinking about maybe getting some action in on the big game? Well, you need to take advantage of some great offers that are available from all of the betting houses here in the state of Maryland for signing up for mobile sports betting. For example, if you've never signed up for DraftKings before, bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Again, PressBoxOnline.com/offers is the website. Click on the sign-up link where it says DraftKings. You got to go there first. Don't ask me. I've had a few people ask over the year, hey, what's that code? No code. There isn't a code. It's a link, PressBoxOnline.com/offers. I can mail it to you. I can do whatever you need if you've got questions. But you got to go there, click. There's literally a click here button right there. Click it, and then you can sign up and get that offer. Bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets instantly from DraftKings. When we come back in, we're going to talk some Terps. Reeta calling them mid. We're going to fight. We're going to actually fight.
I had to look.
That.
Florida's record is actually worse than Maryland.
But
I guess they have more.
She's not even really a Florida basketball fan.
She doesn't watch it.
Yes,
anyway,
she's a
so.
Florida football fan. Like, that's what she loves. And calling them mid.
She looked at the standings and a few box scores.
Correct.
Sounds like disrespect to Steve Blake. I'm just saying.
Right. And Steve Blake will literally fight you. We know that. He will fight his own teammates. Steve Blake is one of the most intense humans that anyone has ever met. When we come back in, we will talk some Terps. Walt the Wizard Williams. That dude was not mid. I know that as a fact. One of the great players in Maryland history. Joins us next. Glenn Clark Radio.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at over $60,000 and over $64,000 for lateral officers, with $10,000 signing bonuses available. Plus, cadets start at over $32,000. Great benefits are available like medical, dental, and vision insurance, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days per calendar year with no limit, career advancement to more than 20 specialized units, and more, with further incentives for military service members and veterans. A passion for service, a career for life with the Baltimore County Police Department. Find out more at joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. Must be a United States citizen, have a valid driver's license, and a high school diploma or GED equivalent.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now, and it's our annual Best Of issue. On the cover, we recognize Orioles catcher Adley Rutschman as our 2022 Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, and he sits down with us to discuss how his arrival in Baltimore was simultaneous with the Birds' turnaround. Also inside, we recognize the top people, performances, and moments of the year throughout the local sports scene. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
There's something for everyone this February at Laurel Park. Come watch live horse racing every Friday through Sunday and join us on Saturday, February 18th for the Winter Stakes Spectacular featuring 6 stakes races and $900,000 in purses, including the General George and Barbara Fritchie Stakes. The fun doesn't stop there. Stick around for our Winter Mardi Gras celebration with live music, delicious food and drinks, and a carnival atmosphere. Plus, don't miss out on President's Day holiday racing on Monday, February 20th. Visit laurelpark.com for more info. That's laurelpark.com for more. See you at the track.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
Tune in to Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday at 11:40 a.m. And if you really have nothing better to do, keep listening to this show too.
Our friends at Royal Farms, so we love, right? Like, I want to make this about. I was getting together. I had a friend invite me over on Saturday night to watch the WWE Royal Rumble. Now, if you're not a professional wrestling fan, the Royal Rumble is the best thing about being a professional wrestling fan. It's awesome. You never know who's going to show up. Old wrestlers come back. Booker T was in the Royal Rumble this weekend. Like, it's a very cool event. So when my buddy said, hey, it's been a long time, my buddy Brian said, why don't we all get together and watch the Royal Rumble? And it was only like 5 of us, but it was great. It was really cool. And I said, I'd love to do that. That sounds like a heck of a way to spend a Saturday night. So I stopped at Royal Farms before because whenever I come to somebody's house, I like to bring chicken. Like, that's what I like to do. And so I stop and get chicken. And I put in my order because they're doing a deal. It's like a 12-piece for $20 or something like that, right? You can't ask for better. It's awesome. And then as I arrived at his house, I said, the reality is there could be anything in that bag. They might toss some tenders in there. They might throw a spicy tender in there. Like, who knows what's in that bag? And that sounds, somebody would say, well, I don't want that. No, you want that. This is like when you get, I compared it to, they don't spend money, iPops. You guys know the place that I'm referring to, where you put that order in, and it could be anything in that bag. It could be anything at all, and it's part of the beauty of going to a place like that. That's what I like that Royal Farms has kind of become. You can open up that bag. Your chicken's going to be in there, but you never really know exactly what it is that you're going to get, and it's kind of the joy of it to me. Like, it's going to be a full bag of chicken, I assure you. They're not going to cheat you at Royal Farms. They're just going to throw other things in there for the sake of throwing other things in there, and that's part of what I love about them. I don't even have to do a commercial read for Royal Farms today, but I just like Royal Farms that much that I'm willing to give them the shout-out for it, because showing up with a bag of chicken at my buddy's house for the Royal Rumble was a really pleasant way for me to spend a Saturday night. Today's show is also actually, this one's just a reminder. Gambling can be fun, but you should set a limit and stay within it. Remember that if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, you can call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org. Again, 24/7 for free confidential services. All right, here. I'll have you call him for my cell phone because it just might be that he doesn't recognize the number. There you go. You can call him from there. Walt Williams is scheduled to join us here in just a minute. This from Antonio. Antonio says, the NFL's owners have found a way to brainwash fans. They yearn to hoard picks and salary cap space. They don't have to win Super Bowls. Ravens fans talk a lot about being over a cap that they don't have to pay. What are you saving money in picks for if it's not a Lamar? And this is 100% what I don't understand about this debate. I get why the Ravens want to try to do as well as they possibly can in these negotiations. Everybody does. Right up into the point where negotiating further hurts you. If they get to March and they announce a deal that gives them a little bit of cap flexibility in the 5th year of a contract, that's a good thing for the Ravens. I'm in favor of that. But if they get to July and they haven't figured that out, and now they're locked in to the exclusive franchise tag number, it hurts them. It's bad for the Ravens. So, negotiating now, fine. Right up until the first point where it hurts you, where it impacts what you're able to do in building a team. And to that last sentence, what are you saving money in picks for if it's not a Lamar? It's not. I keep saying this. It's not impossible that the Ravens trade Lamar, get a top 10 pick, draft whoever it is, C.J. Stroud, and C.J. Stroud becomes a rock star quarterback in the NFL. It's plausible. Is it likely? We'd have to start looking at the percentages of how many first-round draft pick quarterbacks have truly hit. Is it likely? I don't know. Is it the best thing to do? Sure as hell isn't. It's a gamble. And it's a far more significant gamble than the 5th year of cap flexibility. And to the point that Antonio makes, and what I'm trying to say, I just don't, as a fan, imagine fighting about that. As a fan, imagine not holding a franchise feet to the fire to say, nah, dude. Nah. You're not running the greatest quarterback we've ever seen out of town over how much cap flexibility you're getting in years 4 and 5. We ain't doing that. As a fan, imagine that being your priority. It's unfathomable to me. So That's what I'm fighting about. That's what my conversation is about. That's where we are. You know, I hear from people still that have opinions that just say you can't do this. You can't. Stop. It's that number that gets thrown out. Which, Charles, do me a favor. Look up the stat. There's a stat that's out there about, you know, what percentage of your cap or the quarterbacks that have made Super Bowls in like the last 10 years and their percentage of the cap that they've taken up. And there's a stat that really screws with people here. That's something like 14%. Well, if you go over 14% of your cap, you can't win a Super Bowl. Of course, I think Patrick Mahomes is already at a place where 14% will be an issue this year, but I don't know. If you can't do that, because I think it really messes with people, because what they're missing is they think that means you can't possibly win once you get to that number, when what it really says is, hey, it would be beneficial to have Tom Brady playing at a lesser cap percentage, which unfortunately, you know, he's not available any longer. He's decided to go ahead and retire. All right. Did you find it? Hang on. Pull up Charles.
Right now I have 10%.
Here, we'll look at it. During the next commercial break, I'll take a look at it, make sure we have everything there. Let's switch gears right now. Joining us now, this man, of course, one of the great players in Maryland basketball history and radio analyst for the Terps. They just came off a very nice win over Indiana the other night. They'll be on the road on Saturday, where things have been a bit of an issue for them on the road this season. He is, of course, the Wizard, Walt Williams, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Walt, it's Glenn. It's always great to catch up, my friend. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Of course, my man. Anytime.
Man, I will make sure that we talk up Clutch Vodka. What do people need to know?
Oh, man, you know, it's gluten-free, no sugar, no carbs. And the separator for us is that we take our vodka through a coconut filtration process to purify it. And so it gives it that smooth, clean taste that you love in vodka. So we wanted to make sure we had premium vodka for affordable prices. And so that's what we came up with.
I love that. Man, a coconut filtration. Man, that sounds amazing. I got to get on Clutch Vodka. That sounds incredible. All right, Walt, so the guy thing to say is, you know, the Maryland's not the same team on the road and at home this season. Well, you know, in college basketball, who is, right? Like, it's always more difficult to win on the road than it is to win at home. But it's been a bit more drastic for this Maryland team than it is for a lot of teams. Can you kind of put your finger on why that might be the case and what needs to change? Because right now, obviously, Maryland's done a lot of good things, and I think there's every reason to be excited. But what would need to change in order for them to be able to take the success they found at home and translate that to natural road games the rest of the year?
Well, I think that the difference at home is that, you know, offensively they're more consistent. They score in the paint a little bit more as of late. The last 3-4 games, they've been having a concerted effort of getting into that paint and scoring and not shooting as many threes. I mean, the Indiana game, they shot 20 some odd threes. But other than that game, they've been down in the teens with shooting threes. So they've been doing a better job, and especially when you're talking about Jameer Young getting into the paint and making his presence known, but more importantly, in the pick and roll action with him and Julian Reese.
Yeah.
They have been connecting more consistently. Julian's been finishing strong around the basket, and he's played well against top-notch competition. You know, Hunter Dickinson and Edie, you know, Jackson Davis. So he's been doing a great job holding up against individual tough competition.
It is, you know, we've talked a lot this season about Maryland's, you know, you bring up the 3-point shooting. They are not a good 3-point shooting team on the whole. They are absolutely a better team when they are attacking the basket. And also, one of the issues has been their depth, right? Like, that's been an issue all season long. What's jumped out at me is kind of how remarkable it is, the minutes that he's gotten from certain guys, whether it's Emilian or Swanton Roger or Jahari Long, a team that is not very deep, but somehow, some way, he's squeezing out quality minutes from guys that you would not expect to be giving quality minutes to this team at this point in the season.
Well, I think that lends to the fact of, you know, just like we said earlier, offensively is not where they're making their hay right now. It's defensively.
Yeah.
So those guys that you mentioned, They come off the bench and done a great job defensively stepping up. When you look at those names, you think to yourself, well, we don't expect these guys to be able to score for us and consistently and help us win in that way, but defensively they can, and so that's what they've been able to do. The defense has gone to another level. They get deflections and create fast break opportunities, easier opportunities on the offensive end. So they figure out ways to score, even though they struggle on that end of the court. And so, but the reserves have been doing a good job on the defensive end, stepping in.
He is Walt Williams. He's with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Walt, there's something that jumped out at me in the Indiana game, and again, coaches take timeouts. It's not like Kevin Willard is reinventing the wheel by taking a timeout. Coaches take timeouts. But at 22-15, that timeout seemed to be, to me, one of like the statement things about Kevin Willard is knowing the moment and understanding, having a feel for the game and where things are going and when it's appropriate to do something. Because it wasn't like things were really getting away from them necessarily. It wasn't like they were on the wrong end of a 10-0 run. It just sort of had the feel of, hey, we need to stop this for a second and regroup. And they come out of that, and they go on something like, I think it was a 15-4 run themselves on the other side of that timeout. How many times this season have you noticed with Kevin Willard, just there seems like there is a feel for games, particularly these games at home, where he's pushing the right button at the right time?
Well, I think he has a good pulse, a good feel for his team, and understanding how they're supposed to execute out there, especially on the defensive end. When you take for instance, the Indiana game, in that timeout, he talked about being more aggressive on the double teams and the rotations, how it needed to work. They were not executing up until that point. And once they went over things in detail a little bit to kind of remind and refresh guys, and they seemed to be able to execute better. They were very aggressive on double teams, coming high, making Jackson Davis make tough decisions. And that was the difference maker. They started to create turnovers. And, they were able to get into the paint late in the game. You saw Dante Scott start to take his guy in and create opportunities in their paint for himself as well. So, like I said, they just started to attack the basket. But specifically in that timeout, it was the adjustments. And I think that Coach Willard does a great job of assessing what's going out there, how his team is supposed to execute, what his expectations are based on the practices and going over things. And when he doesn't see that, he will call a timeout and go over those things and make sure that they're executing properly.
You all were, of course, part of significantly of sort of laying the foundation for a coach and the success that was to come. Obviously, maybe the most important part of laying the foundation for a coach and the success that was to come. Do you sense any amount with this team of like pride in being the first team with a new coach? And again, this team's not going to win a national championship this year, but I know what it means to you. You've talked about it over the years, like that you guys changed the culture of Maryland basketball. Your arrival in so many ways changed the culture. Do you sense a similarity with this team this year and the significance of kind of being the team that changed the culture to get Maryland basketball back to where it ultimately is supposed to be, even if these players specifically might not be a part of where they ultimately get?
Well, I think what helps give you that narrative is, we're looking back at things in retrospect. So I think it remains to be seen. But at the same token, I could see these kids going the extra mile, especially on the defensive end. They play so hard, whoever comes into that game, and they giving 110% effort out there, and that's what you want. Of course, you're going to go out there and you play for yourself and play for your family and your teammates and things like that. But when you have a little extra in the tank to give for your coaches and things like that, that really lends to being able to recruit later and having the foundation for a long-term success. So they're off to a great start right now. You look at this team and you don't think of it as a team, like you say, that's a championship caliber team. They are a little offensively challenged,
Right.
but they have been giving a great effort. They're in the middle of the pack right here in a tough Big Ten conference. And so they're doing a pretty good job right now, and hopefully the best is yet to come.
And to the point, Walt, like I think that this fan base is feeling something about this team right now, right? Like, again, nobody is confused. Nobody is pretending like this is one of the top 10 teams in the country. But it feels like there's a fan base, certainly the students. There is life in the buildings, right, for these home games. It feels like there is something happening with, you brought up Jahmir Young is such an exciting player, right? Like, and it's cool that he's from here and this matters to him and he's doing something at home, right? Like, it just feels like there's something real about this team that can't just be defined by, do they go and make a run to the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight? It feels like there's something about this Maryland basketball team that is proving there is a foundation, or there's I like to use the term, there's a there.
Well, they play with a lot of energy, great energy. The University of Maryland. I mean, the halftime spectacle that they put on is just probably second to none in the nation. So the interaction of the crowd is just always there as well. And so you blend those two together, and it makes for an exciting night. But also, you talk about a Jahmir Young, a Julian Reese. These guys are from here.
Yeah.
You look at the future, the guys that they have been recruiting that's coming, in the next year and things like that. When you can recruit locally and consistently do that, we have the best players in the nation, in the country. And so when you can consistently recruit from here, I think you put yourself in a pretty good position. And so they're off to a good start. And I think that the fans as well, when you're familiar with the guys on that level of them being from your community, I think that makes it even more solid. I know when we play games, you look at a guy like Coach Williams, who's a Terp, and then you look at the players he recruited, local guys.
Yep.
Just the momentum of the fan support will be there when you do things like that.
There's no doubt, man. It is extraordinarily significant. All right, I have to get your opinion because we didn't get a lot of chance to talk about it this week. I need to know what you thought of that scene over the weekend with LeBron James collapsing on the floor out of frustration about not getting a foul called. Like, I know that you probably had to be frustrated a time or two during your own NBA career, but, like, this is LeBron James. What did you make of that?
Well, I think that lends to how serious it is out there, man. His emotions into the game. As a fan, you watch the game, and sometimes you can just get over things. But when you're actually in that action, it's a lot tougher, especially when you care to that degree. And so, his reaction was definitely exacerbated, because he got fouled. That was the legitimacy of it all. He got fouled, but at the same time, he is a leader of the team, and it looked a little weird that the team was consoling him and trying to get him ready to let's shake it off and get back into it. That's normally the role that he should be playing. So that looked a little bit weird there, that his teammates had to come to him and kind of get him back into it.
Look, it's LeBron James we're talking about, man. I want to make it very clear. I'm not trying to do like a dumb, this Skip Bayless bit where I pretend like LeBron James isn't the greatest player. It was just a lot. Like, it was a lot on Saturday. Like, bro, you're LeBron James, man. Like, it's going to be okay. I promise.
Well, hey, you look at it in the grand scheme of things, absolutely. But in that moment, hey, sometimes it gets the best of you.
I hear you. All right.
Yep.
Where can people find out more about Clutch Vodka? If they want to know where they can go find Clutch Vodka, give me like the website, the social. Where can people find out more?
So Instagram and Facebook, you go to @ClutchVodka. On Twitter, it's @ClutchSpirits. And you can go to our website, clutchspirits.com, and you'll be able to find out all the local stores that it's in.
Of course, he's on Twitter at Walt the Wizard of 42 is how you find him. Maryland, Minnesota, Saturday night, 105.7 The Fan locally. Walt, appreciate you as always, my friend. Thanks for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning, dude.
All right, anytime, buddy.
It's Walt Williams, the Wizard, with us here on GCR, talking some Terps. We didn't really talk about the LeBron James thing. I'm not trying to kill LeBron James, man. He's LeBron James. But damn, that was a lot. That was a lot.
And what, again, I'm not going to argue with Walt, but what he said was that he cares so much. What about all the other nights that they're down 20 and then he's leaving the court early, not even shaking hands with players after the game because they're losing a lot. Like, this is it's not like it's
they're bad.
Occurrence.
There's no question.
Yeah.
This team is bad, right?
So if he cares so much, or does he care to show his displeasure because it's the Celtics, it's national TV,
because it was
it's
ABC
ESPN?
game, right?
Yeah.
That's like one of their few games that's like a litmus test.
That
like,
matter, but they're not making the playoffs.
Delusionally think like they can still hang with like the teams in the league.
Yeah,
they
and
beat the
and
Celtics that night.
right. He puts up a treble double against a mid Knicks team at Madison Square Garden.
I'll give him a pass. One, again, because he's LeBron James, and he's LeBron James. Like we do have to keep this in perspective. But I'll give him a bit of a pass for. That doesn't mean that in that moment he doesn't care, right? Like to say he doesn't care at all. I'll make a comparison. Tennis players. This is the sport that I care about. There will be times where it will be frustrating because I will see a player that could track down a ball and he chooses not to try to track the ball down, right? Like, just is willing to give up a winner.
Have you seen Aaron Hicks play left field?
Different story, different story. But I get frustrated about it, and I understand that at a certain level, you kind of have to make choices, right? I was not going to win that point. Like, I could have kept it alive. And the argument somebody would always say is you never give up on anything because you never know. Maybe that you hit a lob back and the next, that player misses an open shot and you could have stolen the win on that point. I'm not going to beat LeBron James up for his actions when his team is down 20 because, you're not going to win. But they were trying to win on Saturday night, obviously. And to the point where, yes, I think we all saw it. It's not the most egregious missed foul call in the history of basketball, but that probably was a foul.
It was a foul, but it was the most egregious reaction to a foul.
It was the most egregious reaction. And again, how many times have we said we would kind of like it if you didn't call fouls in these situations and just let guys go out and play, right? Like, this is where we change our opinion about a subject a million times. If you're a Lakers fan, you're furious that you didn't get that call on Saturday night. But if you're a Celtics fan, you say, well, of course, you let the guys play. You don't make that call in that situation in a game. Like, it's
right, but that's not.
It's
a foul, and you're angry. But take it out in overtime and go win the game.
I get it. It was theatric. It was way over the top.
And by the way, it's actually really funny because I was playing 2K last night, and LeBron fouled me. I was playing against the Lakers, and LeBron fouls.
It's a big moment in sports history.
But this is hilarious because 2K has him react. He also starts jumping up and
down.
Shut up. I promise you, I'll tweet out the video right now.
That is pretty funny. That is
I hit X too soon. They didn't do the banging on the floor.
They didn't update it.
No, they already had this in the game, so they know that he does this.
That's pretty great. That is pretty great. Look, man, I really don't care that much. I just genuinely don't care that much about whether or not LeBron James loses his mind because of a foul call. It was perfect fodder for Twitter, of course. It was perfect fodder for our society and making memes and doing, oh my God, by the way, there is nothing better than the memes this week about the NFL being rigged. The thing that
script writers.
Oh my God, the Arian Foster bit from the other day where he joked about the NFL being scripted, and now everyone on Twitter.
It's like one of the most watched videos on Twitter right now.
It's
crazy.
It's the great, but
it's so funny. I love it.
That was silly. Like that was.
They're making a joke.
It's not. It wasn't all that clever. It's the same thing that a lot of us have made jokes about over the years. It's all of the follow up, all of the quote tweets this week.
Emmanuel Acho, I thought was very funny, self-deprecating.
Everyone sharing. Their reactions to like somebody reading the script.
Zach Wilson when he sees he has to
Mark Sanchez when he gets the script for Thanksgiving night,
exactly.
right? Like it's all
so
of those things. It's all of it. It's so good. That's been the best thing on Twitter all week. Like, by far, the best
part of the Foster video is the large macro dosing poster in the background.
Well, that's the name of the podcast.
But that even feeds more into the joke. Like, how
right,
would you even
correct.
take it seriously?
Yeah,
correct.
The fact, some people are taking it seriously. That's the funnier part.
Isn't that show about conspiracy theories?
Yes, exactly.
Isn't that?
Yeah.
Come on, dude. But I don't think that. I think it's a very small percentage of people that weren't in on the joke. Twitter has been very in on the joke, and it's been great. It's been wonderful.
Have you seen the Margot Robbie one going around also? That's a trend on
everybody's
Twitter.
dating Margot Robbie.
Dating Margot Robbie. So that's like,
I
saw a few people who aren't in on it also, and it's like,
how
is that?
Like she's dating the drummer from Fish
exactly.
Or something like that.
The backup shortstop on the Orioles.
Correct. That one isn't really all that clever. It's just the same joke over and over.
Yeah,
and over
but that's
again.
Twitter.
But the stuff with the Arian Foster thing has been clever. Like, there have been a lot of people, like, God, who was the guy from Philly? Riley Cooper practicing his script after he found out that he was going to go yell the N-word at everybody.
Yeah, right.
And
I was just looking at a Nick Bosa one, too. There's a
Cody Parkey trying to double doink the kick,
Oh, God. Tom Brady and Aaron Hernandez reading the script
for
2013.
Yeah.
Right?
Another one, Jason Pierre-Paul, like a video of Hannibal Buress looking at his hands and Jason Pierre-Paul reading the script.
Right. Those are wonderful. Those are such good, and they're creative, and they're clever. That is why Twitter should exist, for that 100%. This week. It's been the best thing entirely, by far. All right. Did I send you this audio today? There's apparently some audio. I haven't sent it to you. Remind me. During the commercial break, I sent it to you. There's apparently some audio of a PA announcer at a high school game telling the entire crowd to shut up, and I want to hear it. I want to hear if it's good. So we're going to listen to that. Brandon Williams is going to join us in a minute as he's going to be playing in the Super Bowl. The former Raven is headed to the Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs. Today's show is brought to you by the Stan the Fan Variety Hour. If you missed it early in the week, Stan and Luke Jackson caught up to discuss where the Orioles are as we think they're done for the offseason now that they've added Cole Irvin. And then tonight, Stan and Gary are going to do a show about sports memorabilia with Danny Black from Baltimore Sports Collectibles. That's all coming up tonight, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. If you miss it there, you can see it tomorrow, youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. Brandon Williams coming up next, Glenn Clark Radio.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now, and it's our annual Best Of issue. On the cover, we recognize Orioles catcher Adley Rutschman as our 2022 Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, and he sits down with us to discuss how his arrival in Baltimore was simultaneous with the Birds' turnaround. Also inside, we recognize the top people, performances, and moments of the year throughout the local sports scene. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at over $60,000 and over $64,000 for lateral officers, with $10,000 signing bonuses available. Plus, cadets start at over $32,000. Great benefits are available, like medical, dental, and vision insurance, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days per calendar year with no limit, career advancement to more than 20 specialized units, and more, with further incentives for military service members and veterans. A passion for service, a career for life with the Baltimore County Police Department. Find out more at joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. Must be a United States citizen, have a valid driver's license, and a high school diploma or GED equivalent.
Check out Jeremy Kahn's daily picks at PressBoxOnline.com as he tries to find you daily winners. And speaking of winners, here's a man who once won a media curling contest. And I don't think anything else. He's Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR. Today's show brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. All right, do you have this video that I sent you, Rami? So this was apparently at a high school basketball game in Wisconsin, and there was a controversial call near the end of the game, and the PA announcer is very aggressive in his message to the fans in attendance. Very, very aggressive in what it is that he has to say to those that are complaining about it. Oh, okay. Give it. It's fine. It's life goes on. It would always be great. I should have prepared this ahead of time, and I should have recorded the audio and sent it to you that way. These things happen. Such is this would never be allowed on 105.7 The Fan.
Yeah, that's true.
We're not there.
The
We're
video
here.
buffering is illegal there.
What is that? What is going on with the internet today?
Yeah.
I'd forget it. We'll do it after. Why don't we talk to Brandon Williams, and then maybe we can try the video afterwards. You know what? I can just pull the audio for you. Boy, it's going to be a huge setup for something that's not the greatest audio in the history of all time.
This better be fantastic.
I'm disappointed. We might just have to blow it up and move on. All right, we had to do this a little bit earlier on it because he's got to practice with his team and get ready for, a Super Bowl in about 10 days. But an opportunity to catch up with one of my favorite former Ravens, Brandon Williams from the Kansas City Chiefs, right here on GCR. Man, I am so excited to catch up with our next guest here on GCR. Love this dude. He, his family, they've been good to us. And now he gets to play in a Super Bowl, which is just so freaking cool, man. Obviously, we wish it would have happened in Baltimore, but the fact that it's happening, I can't say enough how happy I am for Brandon Williams, the Kansas City Chiefs, who is back with us now here on GCR. Big baby, what's going on, dude? How are you?
Good, man. How's it going?
Everything.
How you doing?
Man, everything is good. I got to tell you, this is selfish personally. Every time we get I see this picture pop up. I've told the story a billion times. One of my favorite moments ever. My first son had just been born, and you and I were out at Box Hill Pizzeria. And during a commercial break, my buddy said, "Hey, I think he's hungry. You should probably feed him." And I said, "All right, no problem." And you said, "Nope, I'm going to do it." And there's this picture, you holding my now 7-year-old son, and he's the size of your bicep. Oh, my God, man. It gives me so much joy every time.
Oh, man. I remember that. That was a fun day. That was a fun night.
It was a great day. And it showed me everything I need to know about you as a dude. And I got to know you and Alyssa and your family. And, I'm so happy for you, man. If we can take this back, like if I talked to you on Halloween and I said to you then, Brandon, I've seen the future. You're going to be playing in the Super Bowl this year. What would you have said to me then?
Shut your mouth and that you're lying. Get the heck out of here. Because I'm just chilling on my couch. So I definitely didn't see this coming. But, man, it's totally a blessing. Definitely a blessing. I'm taking every moment of it.
Were you convinced, like, take me back to October. Did you just sort of assume at that point a phone call wasn't coming? Like, had you mentally prepared yourself for this might be the end of my career?
Actually, yeah, I was actually in that mode. I was like right at that point of just like, you know what, we're getting late in the season, trades and all that stuff are pretty much almost done. So at this point, I'll be fine with 9. I'm good. Every goal I wanted to, kind of conquer for my fan was already done. So at that point, this was just more of a goal for me and to keep playing. And I just didn't feel done after my last season in Baltimore. So, but at the same time, I was just, coming to grips with just, it's okay. I'm Brandon Williams. I'm not football, so it's all good.
I appreciate that, man. So when the phone call comes, like, is there any part of you that said, I kind of had mentally prepared myself for it to be over? Was it the first time you got the call, dude, I'm on the plane, let's go, like, I'm out of here? Or did you have to think about it a little bit?
First time I got called, actually, it was, like, nerve-wracking. It was, like, bittersweet because I was like, man, dude, I just got in the mode of, like, coming down off this, all right, we're done. And now I'm getting, like, ramped back up to, like, all right, man, I got a chance to play again. I got a chance to get my 10th year. So, but at the same time, I took a couple days and just kind of thought about it and just kind of, did my little come to Jesus moment and woosahs and all that stuff like that. And I realized I really missed the game and I wanted to come back and play. So, dude. I mean, it was, in the end, I picked a great choice. I did it right.
I mean, look, again, we are selfishly, I wish it would have been in purple, but it's what it is. We understand. Brandon Williams with us on GCR. For you, I know it's not home, right? Because I get that, like, it's a couple hours away from home. But
right.
To be in Missouri, to be back that way, and to be, have that be where this gets to happen, where you get to go, be in an AFC championship game and go to a Super Bowl, is there something about that makes it even more special?
Yeah, it is, man. It is. I mean, my whole life has been Missouri. I went to high school, grew up in St. Louis, then went to college down in Missouri Southern. Actually, the school that, the Kansas City Chiefs play against, Missouri Western, I played against them all the time in college, so it's crazy, to just come back and it come pretty much full circle and be here in Kansas City and finally, my 10th year, having my goal with this great team and, head to the Super Bowl now. It's a dream come true. All my buddies in high school were calling me and just like, dude, man, I remember when we used to sit up and talk late nights and we all thought we was going to make it to the NFL and like, man, you're here. Wow. And I was just like reminiscing, like, man, dude, it's crazy that, that they bring me down back to earth and it's like, man, I'm pinching myself like this is actually happening.
That's so cool, man.
Awesome.
That's so cool. You get to the end of the game on Sunday, right? And like, can you tell me what that feeling is like? Like, obviously winning any football game is fun. But the moment you realize, like, it becomes real, the kick goes through and you guys got to go down, you got to cover a kickoff. But like the moment it hits you, like, oh my God, I'm going to a Super Bowl. Can you describe what that feeling is like?
I am not gonna lie, man. I was like a deer in headlights. I felt like Ricky Bobby and Talladega Nights. I just don't know what to do with my hands right now. Like I'm at the point, like in 9 years, and it's the first time, I got to this first time I'm going to the Super Bowl. So I mean, all this is new to me, so I'm just soaking it in as I go. I don't know what to expect, but I'm just enjoying the journey.
Man, can you admit, because I know you're an emotional person, right? Like it's one of the things I like most about you.
Yeah.
Can you admit whether there might have been like a tear that was shed at some point on Sunday?
I mean, there might have been a couple drops, maybe. Yeah,
I mean,
dude,
save that.
Finally, everything coming down. It was probably like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't sleeping yet. You have ruminating thoughts and all that stuff. Just going over the whole game and it just started, it just started coming down, man. Just crying, just like from all the pain, all the blood, sweat, and tears, all the everything going on through life, and finally, all that to get to this moment. It's truly a blessing, man.
You've had to chase down Patrick Mahomes and that offense a couple times in the last few years, right? You guys had some hell of battles over the last couple of years.
Yeah, it is.
How much nicer is it to not have to go after that dude?
I mean, dude, seeing him up close and personal in practice, man. I mean, definitely. I mean, it was a fun time chasing after him, but watching him do what he does on the sideline is a lot better.
I mean, I can only imagine. I can only imagine how much more play. I mean, there are times still, and like we could even. I think everybody watching could tell he wasn't 100% on Sunday, and yet watching him, and we've had of course, the joy of watching Lamar. Like we've had plenty of joy watching Lamar in Baltimore, but seeing that dude contort his body and throw backwards across the field, where clearly he's in miserable pain. Like dude, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, there's just something, you feel like you're watching, I don't know, Da Vinci or something like that in those moments.
Yeah, for you, man. It's crazy to see him. I mean, I used to think that no-look pass was just like something that, lucky, backyard football happened. Like, that stuff happens like every day in practice. Like, that stuff is like a ritual. That's awesome. So, I mean, to see that happen and to see him, just be as great as he is, I mean, every day, I mean, it's a sight to see.
It's awesome, man. Just another minute here with Brandon Williams. He's getting ready for the Super Bowl as the Kansas City Chiefs are AFC champions. Brandon, like, I guess I would be remiss if I didn't ask, like, do you say, hey, if I win it, like, that would probably be a pretty great way to go out? Like, do you think about that at all, or do you still just sort of keep it on a day-to-day thing at the moment?
I mean, at this time, I'm taking it day-to-day, ever since I got in the league, I've always said I want to do 10 years, and we'll see what happens after that. And I think at this point, I've hit 10 years, and right now my body feels good. So who knows what happens in the future? But right now, I'm just taking it day by day and enjoying this roller coaster ride.
Doing it with Orlando Brown. I don't know how close you guys were here, but like it had to be pretty cool to be back with that dude down there.
Oh yeah, my man, Big Drip. Big Orlando, he's a great guy, man. Coming in, seeing him, I mean, I'm happy for him and the progress he's made coming in football. I mean, just being in this moment together, having a guy who's from Baltimore, who played in Baltimore, who's got so many ties to Baltimore, just seeing him here in Kansas City, kind of going through this with him here is amazing. That's awesome. And then the most important question, did you take over locker room DJ responsibilities when you showed up in Kansas City? And I mean, yeah, I used to have the boom boxes rocking in Baltimore, but this ain't, my full team. So, I mean, I sneak in there every now and again. I play my hits. There's other guys grabbing the mic. So it's all good. There was a moment, by the way, where Tyus told me, like, bro, the thing about Baby as being DJ is you never knew what he was about to play. Like, I'm all over. Right. I'm all over the board with it, man. I got Rolodex of all kind of music. Anything that gets me going is what I'm listening to, and I don't care what you say about it. No, and that's exactly the way that Tyus explained it to me, by the way. He was like, nobody else in the locker room might want to hear it. He didn't care. That's what he wanted to hear that moment. I'm going to turn it louder. Oh, that's so awesome. Dude, seriously, I can't tell you how happy I am for you. Again, I'll say it a million times. I wish it was in Baltimore, but it's awesome that you get to have this opportunity to go win a Super Bowl, man. It would damn near bring a tear to my eye to see that play out for you and you holding up that trophy at the end of the day. Brandon, congratulations, brother. Seriously, major congratulations to you. Best to you, your family. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. It's been a dream. It's been a blessing, man. I appreciate you giving me this call, man. Hey, to the Baltimore fans who still, support me, man, I appreciate you guys for still supporting me, man. Thank you so much. Brandon Williams with us here on GCR. I always got frustrated in the last couple of years when people would try to disparage Brandon Williams, essentially because he wasn't Aaron Donald. Like, there was this thought that, like, the moment that you paid Brandon Williams, he was supposed to become Aaron Donald. And it always drove me nuts because every time Brandon Williams would miss a game, you would see how drastically worse the defense was against the run, right? Like, Nick Chubb, when Brandon Williams wasn't on the field, gashed the Ravens. When Brandon Williams was on the field, not the story. So I'd always get very frustrated when people would try to talk to me about Brandon Williams, like, well, all he is a run stopper. And like, yeah, he's pretty damn good at it. Like, I get it. Like, I think we've completely lost the ability to judge what a football player is because Aaron Donald is an alien. Like, Aaron Donald is just not human. So now every defensive tackle is either Aaron Donald or they're replaceable, right? Like, either you're that or you're just a guy. There's a big difference between those things. Like, I like Justin Madubuike. I think Justin Madubuike is a player, and he does do a few more things in the backfield than Brandon Williams did, but he's not. Brandon Williams would take on double teams on every play. On every play.
And that's the thing that people don't see because they see the guy coming around the edge to get the sack.
Exactly.
The reason he got the sack, because someone else was in the middle taking up two guys.
I mean, that's the story. And you did not run on the Ravens when Brandon Williams was on the field. Again, we can always have opinions about where you spend your money and, like, do you just accept the fact that maybe you're not going to be quite as good against the run and you shouldn't have spent, like, you can have plenty of opinions about that. It always bothered me when Ravens fans would disparage Brandon Williams, again, specifically because he wasn't Aaron Donald. That's it. He wasn't Aaron Donald. And maybe you could go as far as to say he wasn't Haloti Ngata. Like, fine, sure. Again, it's a pretty freaking high standard that we're talking about when it comes to those players. No one at a higher standard than Aaron Donald, who, again, is one of the greatest football players that has ever lived. Thank you to Brandon Williams for taking the time for us. So I don't know. Rami is obsessed with – pull the curtain back for those that don't know. Rami's a Yankees fan. I like him anyway.
By the way, I don't say that often on the fan. When we're on the fan, I do not say
it. As you shouldn't.
Yeah.
As you shouldn't. So Rami's very excited about Derek Jeter being on this.
No, when I first came in, I said, who buys the game with the other cover, like pays the extra, sometimes even double what the cost of the game
is. That I assume that's why he was on whatever show he was on last night?
Yeah, Fallon took it out, and it was a whole thing.
So,
I didn't watch it, by the way.
So it's ironic. I am doing for the next print issue of Press Box. Of course, I do for page 15 of every issue, the 15, and it's always kind of our silly list that we do for every magazine. And in honor of Tom Brady's retirement, this month it's the rivals we begrudgingly respected. And I'll read, because there are a couple Yankees that made the list, right? Like, I'm not going to give away the whole list, but just for fun. Rivera is absolutely on the list.
Talking about yesterday is Joey Porter on there?
Not a chance in hell. Charles.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Not a chance in all
What about
hell.
Harrison?
James Harrison is on the list. I'm not going to – you can't get me to give away the entire list, right? But James Harrison, we talked – and by the way, I referenced the conversation that we had. Hang on a second.
Clark? I like Ryan Clark.
I like Ryan Clark, but Ryan Clark was never like a significant enough as a player to kind of – so
you're more like Antonio Brown.
It's so funny you bring this up. The sentence. Recently, I was trying to explain to a young Ravens fan, my producer Griffin Bass, about how the Ravens drafting Penn State cornerback Joey Porter Jr. would be one of the wildest moments in football history, considering his father was perhaps the most hated player in the history of the Ravens-Steelers rivalry. Not understanding the history, he asked, even more than James Harrison? I paused and thought, I'm not really sure that we ever particularly hated James Harrison. So funny. Like, I literally referenced that conversation right here. Mariano Rivera. Again, I'll give it away. You might notice that Derek Jeter isn't on this list. I actually think there was a time in his career that Orioles fans kind of R2-spected the guy. But as we watched a player whose career WAR was almost the exact same as Bobby Grich get treated like he was somehow baseball's version of Michael Jordan, it broke us. We really hated how dramatically overrated he was.
So I'll give you one moment in my life that I was there in person that, to me, defines Derek Jeter. Okay? Derek Jeter comes back from injury in, I think it was 2013 or 2014, probably 2013. He comes back against the Tampa Bay Rays. I was at the game. They announced, like, shortly before the game that he's coming off the injured list, and he's batting second. And on the first pitch he hits an opposite field home run off Matt Moore. He had been struggling all years before he had his 3,000th hit, so he was slumping a little bit. But it was almost like you knew that he was going to come up, and on the first pitch, he was going to hit opposite field home run. Every single time, everything he did was scripted. It was crazy.
like Arian Foster scripted?
It felt that way. The way he started his career, there's something to respect about that, right? Like Tom Brady, you can nitpick every single one of his championships. And this is what we were talking about off air. We were talking about this earlier with Stephen A. and Mike Francesa going back and forth. Brady didn't have the best arm, right? He never led the league in passing yards or passing touchdowns or anything like that. He wasn't a great...
He got very explosive deeper into his career. He became very explosive.
There was a stretch there where he
career.
was. But the point was, and then you could look at, wow, the comeback against the Falcons. If they get one first down, that game is over, right? You talk about there's so many ways that the Tuck rule
game. We
can
do that with a lot of people,
The point is, right, that's my point. My point is, I think they're similar in the way that Derek Jeter, no matter what, was always winning at the end. And I know it's more of a team sport and you're not the quarterback, but it felt like he was in the middle of every single one of those moments.
It wasn't necessarily true as his career went on. That was far truer at the beginning of his career than it was at the end of his career.
For 15 years. I mean, in 2009, he won again, right?
But so that was after 9 years where he hadn't,
Oh, so 9 years is now a long time, and he made 2 World Series in between those 9
years?
You're
getting very defensive.
I'm asking.
I'm saying
it was 8 years that he didn't win.
The comparison to Tom Brady would be that Tom Brady won throughout his career. He won at the beginning of his career.
Tom Brady didn't win for a bunch of years in the middle also, where he lost to the Giants twice. Yeah.
And he lost to the Giants
Well,
twice.
okay, fine. He made the World Series. He lost. Give me the actual number between the Super Bowl titles.
Oh, the actual
between the third and the fourth Super Bowl title being the longest drought for Tom Brady. I don't think it was 10 years, but
it was 2003 was the
because they lost the Giants in the
07 and 11.
Yes, correct. So the 08 Super Bowl. So I believe that we were looking at more like 06 to
from 2005 to 2015, 10 years.
So really 10 years.
Yeah.
It's kind of stunning. I didn't realize it was actually 10 years.
So Jeter in between made it twice, right? In 01 and 03 he made it and lost.
Yep.
And then 09 he won again.
Okay, but I'm not still really sure what we're trying to say.
My point is that sometimes the guy, you talked about WAR, sometimes the guy who isn't the most, A-Rod was a much better player than Derek Jeter was.
Sure.
Yeah, but that's not to say that Derek Jeter wasn't great.
Well, but he was also on the benefit of being on really good teams too. Like there's a lot of that goes
right,
into
but he was
it.
also, and Tom Brady had the greatest one of the greatest coaches.
Well,
in
the greatest
NFL
coach,
history.
but like Tom Brady also overcame. Like he's again, we bring up Patrick Mahomes this year, but Tom Brady is one of the. He won the Super Bowl the year that he had no wide receivers and Rob Gronkowski got hurt. Like that's really the most dramatic thing that a quarterback has ever done.
And a baseball player can't do that. There's not one baseball player who can do that. I get it. It's more of a team sport. It's different. But the point is that maybe he's not the middle of everything. Maybe he's not the person making everything happen. But yet he somehow always found his way to be in the middle of every big play and every big moment and win.
But somebody would say the same thing about Robert Horry, right? Like, and I'm not trying to say that Robert Horry and Derek Jeter are the same as baseball players, but like the frustrating part for the rest of the country is we understand why Michael Jordan gets the Michael Jordan treatment. He's Michael Jordan. Like,
agreed.
He's the guy.
Yep.
Derek Jeter wasn't. Derek Jeter was.
It was also the way he carried himself and all that.
He created a persona.
Yep, 100%.
He created something, and it was
100%.
in the New York market, which as we had this conversation yesterday.
Right, if he was in Kansas City, it's
Correct.
a different career.
He would not be treated like this guy. The facts about Derek Jeter, the baseball player, do not stand up to the idea that not only was he not the greatest player of a generation, he's not one of the top 10 greatest players.
But you
of
just
his
said
own
this with
generation.
Brandon Williams. That people who don't watch it don't understand, right? They're like they see the other guys getting the
There's a difference
sack.
between saying Derek Jeter stinks. Nobody's trying to suggest that Derek Jeter stinks. Like, if you are, you're terribly wrong. The frustrating part, again, because I do, and I mean what I said. I think there was a point in Derek Jeter's...
Is he not a first ballot Hall of Famer?
No, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Because it was patently absurd that people were talking about him as being a unanimous Hall of Famer. That's nuts. Nuts. Insane in comparison to how many players were drastically better than he was.
But you're splitting hairs at that point.
Sniff it.
Whether he's a first ballot or a unanimous first ballot.
I understand that. 100%. He is a very good baseball player in history.
And I argue with not only you, but young Yankee fans about this. Yankee fans who didn't grow up watching him. To me, it's just crazy. Who don't have those memories of it felt like every time he did something, you had to pinch yourself and like, is this real?
The way that we feel about Derek Jeter is not Derek Jeter's fault. Right? It's not his fault that he was propped up like he was the baseball version of Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
It was the machine that was it was the hilarity of ESPN announcing they were going to do a 7-part series about Derek Jeter and thinking that anyone outside of New York gave a rat's ass about it.
Well, February Sports Talk in Baltimore. This is great.
I mean, this is what we do, right? Well, this is why this is the column that I'm doing this month, right? And I mean it. Like, there was a time in 2000 and 2001, something like that, if I had done this list, Derek Jeter probably would have been on the list.
Yep.
Because when you watch that era of Yankees, you just sort of said, hey, he plays hard. He's a nice player. Like, respect. Like, tip your cap. But then it became this machine that tried to prop up Derek Jeter like he was Barry Bonds, like he was Mike Trout, like he was actually one of the great baseball players of an era. Not the greatest. He was one of the great baseball players of an era. But one of the greatest baseball players of the era.
But that's the point.
It was absurd.
Tom Brady played in a league where first Peyton was better than him. And then, there are arguments. Breeze was better at times. And Rodgers was better at times.
There were moments.
He was never the best
but
in any
you're
particular
also comparing
season.
The quarterback position. You're
I get it. Yes,
comparing
it's
a
hard to
position
make
where
that.
you control the totality of what's going on in the field, where when you tried it, the way that we attempted to diminish Tom Brady was to say, like, for the beginning of his career, he was more of a game manager. And
I think Jeter's more like Kobe. I think that's the comparison. Because he had the L.A. market. He took a ton of shots.
It's an interesting comparison. I don't think he was quite as good. Like, I think that's a little bit disrespectful. Clearly Kobe wasn't Michael Jordan. Like, we all know that.
He wasn't LeBron either.
But Kobe was still elevated over...
Was Kobe ever the best in the league at any point in his career? Was he ever,
clearly
the best player?
Minute.
Tim Duncan was probably...
But they did such different things, right? Like, it's a very difficult thing to compare.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Right? Like, it's difficult to compare a power forward to... A 3 that was really a 2, right? Like, Kobe Bryant was a 2 that was playing 3.
Right, but
he
it's
was
Kobe.
A shooting
First,
guard.
he had Shaq, and he had a good team then, and he had the later teams, obviously, with Gasol and those guys. So, like, The point is, it's kind of similar, and he was propped up because he was in L.A. and there was.
He was. I don't know where he would have been. He would have been in the
he would have been in Charlotte, right?
Yeah, he could have been in Charlotte. I'm saying he was a top 2 or 3 player if he wasn't the best player in the NBA. Derek Jeter wasn't a top 5 player at any point during his Major League Baseball career. He was a good player, a damn good hitter, a good player. He was not a good defensive player.
Should have won the 09 MVP over Dustin Pedroia, or Joe Mauer.
I don't know enough about that debate in order to have an opinion about it. I've never thought about that at all. He was a good baseball player that was propped up like he was the greatest player of an era, and it was infuriating because we all had eyes. Like, we all knew that wasn't the story of Derek Jeter. He was a decent baseball player, baseball player. I got to be fair about this. He was a very good baseball player, but he wasn't these things. Like, we know why he wasn't Albert Pujols, and he wasn't Barry Bonds, and he wasn't Alex Rodriguez even. Insert name here. Those guys were clearly better baseball players, offered more than Derek Jeter did.
But it's also part of the history of the game. He did it at shortstop for 20 years in New York. And not everyone can do that.
I get it. And I don't ever want this to come off as me saying Derek Jeter sucked. He did not. Our hate for Derek Jeter wasn't about Derek Jeter. It was about the machine. It was about the way that suddenly a guy who was a good baseball player, I'll give a comparison.
First ballot Hall of Famer, like you said.
I'll give a comparison. David Ortiz. Like, I get it. David Ortiz is a hell of a baseball player. But David Ortiz is not that much better of a baseball player than a lot of baseball players. And yet he was the guy that they were willing to forgive over steroids because he was a nice guy.
I know, but as a Yankee fan, if there's a big moment, who do I not want to see step into that batter's box?
He was a clutch player.
Big Poppy.
That's fine. I understand.
And if you're a fan of any other team and it's a clutch moment, I bet you didn't want to see Derek Jeter coming up to the plate.
Maybe so, but you still don't get to rewrite baseball history over it. You don't get the fact that David Ortiz has been forgiven for using steroids and was allowed to be in the Hall of Fame, while Barry Bonds, who is 1 billion times better, 1 billion. There aren't enough greater than signs in the world between those two players.
Barry Bonds is the greatest baseball player ever, in my opinion.
Correct.
Yes.
And that guy who used steroids is allowed in the Hall of Fame, and that guy isn't.
Yeah.
It makes us hate David Ortiz. It makes us, again, not his fault. And again, everybody points out what a good guy he was, what a larger-than-life personality he was. But the machine that has propped up David Ortiz is nonsense. It's insane. He used steroids, and they put him in the Hall of Fame on the first ballot, despite the fact that he didn't play defense.
Greatest DH of all time, right?
Nuts! It's nuts the way that we treat David Ortiz.
This I can get on board with as a Yankee fan.
Yeah, sure. Not his fault. It's not his fault that there was a David Ortiz machine that was created. But he can't make this list. We don't begrudgingly respect him. We hate him because of the machine that surrounds him.
Yeah, and Don Orsillo is responsible, in my opinion. Don Orsillo is a broadcaster.
I know Don Orsillo. I think
love
he's a
Don
damn
Orsillo.
good broadcaster.
He's so good.
Interesting idea.
Around the pole.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea that it's his responsibility. I don't know, man. All right. I don't know what just happened here. We just lost our minds
I have
for
no
a second
idea.
yelling about
Sorry
Derek
about
Jeter.
that.
Hey, today's show brought to you by PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Go there right now. If you've not signed up for any particular sports betting house that exists here in the state of Maryland, you can still get like free bets, free money in some cases. I'll give you an example right now. If you have never signed up with BetMGM, maybe you signed up with DraftKings, maybe you signed up with FanDuel, maybe I don't know who you've signed up with because I don't know you that well, believe it or not. But if you've never signed up with BetMGM, you go right now to PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Click here. Scroll down a little bit. You'll see BetMGM listed. Click here. And when you bet $10, you get $200 worth of free bets. But you got to use that click here link in order to take advantage of it. PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Let's grab a break. When we come back in, we'll do fighting words. Charles says he's got a tidbit. I like that. We'll do fighting words, tidbit, and tubular to wrap things up for a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
There's something for everyone this February at Laurel Park. Come watch live horse racing every Friday through Sunday and join us on Saturday, February 18th for the Winter Stakes Spectacular featuring 6 stakes races and $900,000 in purses, including the General George and Barbara Fritchie Stakes. The fun doesn't stop there. Stick around for our Winter Mardi Gras celebration with live music, delicious food and drinks, and a carnival atmosphere. Plus, don't miss out on President's Day holiday racing on Monday, February 20th. Visit laurelpark.com for more info. That's laurelpark.com for more. See you at the track.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
Another Orioles season is in the books, and the Bat-Around was there every step of the way as the Birds posted their first winning season in 6 years. And after promoting 2 #1 overall prospects in Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, Mike Elias has said it's liftoff from here. Hi, I'm Paul Valley, and along with my co-host Zach Goodman, we'll be here every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon all off season, discussing every signing, trade, and waiver claim as we navigate the cold winter months that lead to spring training. You can watch us at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or listen live at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. And if you miss a show, you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. So tune into the Bat-Around with Paul Valley and Zach Goodman every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon right here at PressBox Sports.
If you can't listen or watch live, you can subscribe to the show via Spotify, Amazon, or Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review while you're there. Or, if lying isn't your thing, we'll take a 3.5-star review too.
All right, back in here on GCR. If you've not picked up the new print issue of PressBox yet, you only have like 10 days in order to get it. Go right now to PressBoxOnline.com, and you can click where to find it, but you can get it at your neighborhood Royal Farms or any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox and any of those stands that you see when you walk around town. It is also available to read at PressBoxOnline.com. Our Best of 2022 issue featuring our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, Adley Rutschman, on the cover. Again, go get it right now for free, and you only have about 10 days left in order to pick it up. It is Thursday. It's time for Fightin' Words. I hope Griffin works on the Open while he's away. I hope that's something that he's thought about maybe at least once while he's down at Disney World. Prince Charles is here with us this morning. Charles, what's going on in the world of fighting this week?
Not much, really. You were talking about it earlier, your WWE Royal Rumble story that made me think. When I was a kid, that was my favorite event.
Royal Rumble is amazing. The Royal Rumble is amazing.
Because it always used to usually land on my birthday, so I would watch.
When's your birthday?
It was actually this Tuesday.
Oh,
so
I'm sick, Charles. Why did you mention something? This is the problem.
Studio
okay, I
Tuesday.
feel really bad now. Genuinely, I feel bad about this. I had no idea. Charles, happy birthday. I'm sorry I missed it. Are you 20? You're 21 now?
22 now.
22 now. Okay. So this is what really pisses me off about people that are all running away from Facebook. Every social media platform sucks. But the one thing that Facebook gave us was the opportunity to know when our friends' birthdays were.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, we don't know. Mm-hmm. Let's be abundantly clear. You know when
Twitter has the balloons.
Yeah, but you have to you have to click on their page. Facebook, on the right side of every day,
It gave you a notification, yeah.
It will tell you whose friends which of your friends have a birthday that day. And again, because we don't know when our friends' birthdays are, I know like 3 of my friends' birthdays. I might kind of generically know when some of my friends' birthdays are. Like, I'm pretty sure we did something for him in the summer for his birthday once. Like, I think that might be when it is. But we don't know. It's the one thing that social media platform offers is knowing when your friends' birthdays are. So, of course, we're running away from it. And we'll never know when our friends' birthdays are going to be. We will never, ever, ever know. Man, I feel bad about that, Charles. I'm sorry. Happy birthday, buddy.
Nah, you're fine.
Go ahead.
I'm kind of bummed that I missed out on Royal Rumble this year.
I
I wasn't even thinking about it.
It was okay.
When I looked at like the entrance now, and like it brings me back to my childhood. Like,
dude, if
Kofi Kingston, Brock Lesnar,
right,
Rey Mysterio and his son Bobby Lashley, like to have all these people in one ring, like that just makes me think of my childhood.
Yes, that was what's cool about the Royal Rumble is like you sit there and you wait and there's a countdown and then somebody else is gonna run out and you have no idea who it's gonna be.
Logan Paul is apparently the second to last entrant.
There was actually a really cool moment with Logan Paul during the Royal Rumble. So he and oh God, who was it? Ricochet is the name of it. And he's a high flyer. He's a guy that like jumps off. They, from opposite sides of the ring, both tried to suplex each other. They both launched each other towards the middle of the ring and like hit. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Hang on, I'll pull it up. And
That's when it goes from fine line of like choreography and like, okay, they're actually hurting each other.
Dude, it was. Look, I have an awkward relationship with being a professional wrestling fan, right? Like I'm ashamed of the fact that I am still a professional wrestling fan. Now, I've got a very close personal friend who's a WWE wrestler, and that changes a lot of things because, like, I love the guy. He's a close person. I think everybody knows AJ Francis, Top Dollar, who's in the Hit Row faction, is one of my best friends. And so, like, I can't escape it. I can't get away from it. I have to watch. My kids are now a huge fan. Dude, my kids. So I think a lot of people remember AJ played at Maryland and had a great career in the NFL, played for the Seahawks and Washington and the Giants and the Dolphins. But he always that's what he wanted to do. He never, as a kid, he didn't really want to be a football player. He wanted to be a WWE wrestler. That's what he wanted to do. So the first opportunity, he went and took a chance, and now he's killing it in the WWE. And my kids are now obsessed WWE fans. And when we were down in Orlando to go to Disney World, that's, of course, where like most of the wrestlers live now is down in Florida. And so AJ was like, well, I'll come over and hang out with you guys. And my kids were freaking the F out because, like, they'll hear me talk about Uncle AJ, but, you don't get to see him that often. So, like, they were freaking the F out that he was coming over and throwing him into the pool at, like, Disney World. They were losing their minds about it. It was a really, really cool thing. That was all you wanted to say was just the Royal Rumble?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't even have that planned, but I want to talk about it a little bit.
All right, hang on a second. I will show you. This is the Logan Paul Ricochet thing from the Royal Rumble. It is wild, Jack. Like, it is the type. You knew what they were about to do because they were setting it up, and you were like, no, they're not actually going to do this, right? Like, there's no way. Okay, so here they are kind of staring at each other, right? Like, they're both on opposite sides of the ring, and they're building it. And as you're watching, you're like, what are they about to do? Now, they look at each other, right? Like, yeah, we're going to do this? We're going to do this?
Did you want to go?
It's a great moment, man. This is why I can't
it's like
escape.
Two guys eyeing each other from across the
100%. I can't escape pro wrestling. Yo!
Oh,
Yo! It was awesome, dude.
Nice.
It was so cool. All right, what else? What else you got?
All right, well, for, I guess, a recap, UFC last week released their first quarter schedule. That goes up until about May, give or take.
Okay.
Late April, early May. Some of the locations are still to be announced, but the majority of the pay-per-views are filled up and locked in. Just kind of, they're going to Perth in February. That's a main event by Makhachev. That's Khabib's like protege and Volkanovski.
Oh, right. Yeah.
There's another title fight on there between Rodriguez and Emmett, which is actually Volkanovski's belt, but
he's
going to challenge 55.
They're not doing that at a weird time. They're doing it at like 10 o'clock Eastern,
Yeah.
and it's whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't even
They'll
know what
just have
time.
the Australian
noon
people.
in Australia or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's like early afternoon, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. But then they're in Vegas for the next couple weeks, and then for the next 2 weeks for fight nights, and that ends with John Jones, Cyril Gane to begin March. And then they'll be going to London later in March. They're trying something new. They're putting 2 pay-per-views in the same month, so we'll see how they do with that numbers-wise.
Okay.
I don't know if the fans are going to want to pay for 2 pay-per-views
and it also
kind of
depends on who's fighting on those pay-per-views.
So the London one is Leon Edwards Usman rematch with Gaethje, Fiziev.
That's a big one.
Yeah. I'd say that's about as big as Vegas, but probably not quite because John Jones is on the Vegas card.
And what's the other one?
London, March 18th.
Okay.
And then I guess to round out March, they'll be in San Antonio to end the month. And actually, there is a local fighter that will be on that card. He actually fights out of the gym that I'm now going to and coach at. His name's Tucker Lutz.
I know Tucker.
Yeah.
I love Tucker.
He'll be fighting Daniel Pineda.
Wait, is that ground control?
Ground control, yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Tucker's a hell. I mean, he's a good dude. First
he's
of
a
all,
good guy.
he's a really good dude, and I'm really happy for him. He came through tough enough, right? Like he got his contract that way. It was through, and it was during the pandemic, if I remember correctly. Love Tucker Lutz. Good dude. Very cool.
Yeah. And I guess a fighter to highlight also on that card in San Antonio. He's kind of an entertaining guy, Michel Pereira. He does backflips in the cage, like during the fight. Does somersaults on the dudes. Like,
all right.
He's an absolute nut. So if you catch yourself wanting to watch that San Antonio card, go ahead. Other than that, they start the next month in April. It's rumored to be in Miami. That's not a done deal, but that's going to be Izzy Pereira rematch. And other than that, Masvidal and Gilbert Burns are also on that card. Kevin Holland's on that card. But other than that, that kind of rounds out the first quarter up until like the beginning of.
So sadly, nothing in Baltimore. Sadly, as we were talking about it last week, nothing coming to the new arena just yet. Chris Stapleton's coming to the new arena, though. I'm excited about that. Gonna be another big white for white guys of a certain age.
He's also doing the I think
the national anthem.
Yeah, the national
right?
anthem.
Yeah,
that's
Super
super
Bowl.
cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, usually the closest they come to Baltimore is Madison Square Garden.
I am sadly. Other than the time they came to Baltimore, which was freaking awesome with John Jones and Glover Teixeira. And then number 3.
All right. So right now, actually tomorrow, ESPN Top Rank is holding an event in Desert Diamond Arena in Glendale, Arizona. It's Navarrete Wilson card, and Nico Ali Walsh will be making his 8th appearance in the professional boxing ring. He'll be facing Eduardo Alaya at 160 pounds. He's 7-0.
You're gonna have to tell me why I'm supposed to care.
7-0, 5 knockouts. He's Muhammad Ali's grandson.
That's what I needed to know. That was
my
the
question
part.
was, will Ali
say no more?
Will Walsh capitalize on the momentum of his grandfather's legacy in the coming years?
Well, I mean, probably not. It's very tough, right? Like, obviously, I mean, Layla Ali turned herself into a relevant pop culture figure. Obviously, she was.
But not really known for her boxing.
No, not. She was a good fighter, but not. And part of the problem too is women's boxing in that era. It was very difficult to become a great fighter, right? Like, how would anybody know that you're a great fighter? We don't know who these people are that you're beating, right? Like, it was a difficult time to become somebody in a boxing expert might say to me, she was the greatest fighter we ever saw, right? Like, because it was hard for us to know. We know who the great fighters are by going back and looking at who they beat. Like, that's how we judge them. You beat so and so and so and so and so and so. Well, that makes you the greatest fighter of a generation, right? In women's boxing at the time, we didn't know who any of these people were that she was fighting. Like, how would we possibly know if she was a good fighter or not? But maybe somebody would say her technique or skill or whatever, she was a great fighter. I just don't know that because I don't know the sport the same way. Yeah. Like, it's certainly compelling. This isn't Layla's son, is it?
I'm not sure. I could look that up.
I would say I'm more inclined to watch because of it, and that it would be very good for the sport if.
So his official last name is Walsh. So
right.
I'm not too sure that
Hang
he might be a little distant.
Nephew of Layla Ali, so not her son. So the question really just becomes: boxing would be served well for Nico Ali Walsh to become a star.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be a casual fan would be more inclined to watch when they hear, "Oh, this is Muhammad Ali's grandson." Like, boxing would be well served to protect Nico Ali Walsh and let him stockpile wins and become a relevant figure that way. And I hate that that's the story of boxing, but, like, that's the story of boxing, right? Like, just try to get somebody as many wins as possible to make them a star. Get this dude a bunch of wins. Let people believe he's a star, whether or not he actually is. That way, more people will tune in to see the guy fight.
I do think it's good that ESPN Top Rank and his management are
fighting on ESPN is a big that's a big deal to get a fight on ESPN. And I did not literally when you said Nico Ali Walsh, I'm like, why do I care, dude? Why do you include this? When you say Muhammad Ali's grandson, I'm like, all right, now I want to. I'm not telling you I'm going to sit down and watch the fight tomorrow night, but I will be at least intrigued. Next week when we talk, I'm going to say, hey, what happened?
You'll probably catch the highlight of it on
something
Twitter
like that.
or Facebook.
Yep.
Him knocking whoever at Water is. Don't mean to disrespect.
Right. Yeah. All right, good stuff, man. Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it. Good work. That's Fighting Words. We do it on Thursdays here on GCR. Charles also has a tidbit today, so let's do that. Tidbit is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. What you got?
All right, so I was tasked with kind of doing some salary cap research earlier in the show, and I have
might be the first time in the history of the program that we did research, by the way. It's new.
I looked up how many years apart the Patriots Super Bowl was.
You know what? We've done a lot of research this morning. Look at this.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
So there are 4 QBs to make a Super Bowl, being less than 1% of the team's salary, and one of those QBs did it twice. So I know I said 5 earlier, but one of those QBs did it twice.
4 quarterbacks. Since when? Since when?
Since 2000.
Since 2000. 4 quarterbacks to make a Super Bowl with less than 1% of the team's salary. Yeah, that's our job is to guess. So, we just yell it out loud, Rami. Like we don't bother to go through. I'm going to assume that Tom Brady, the first
2001, Tom Brady.
Jared Goff.
0.46, and he made $300,000. No Jared Goff.
Oh, because he was a first rounder, so he got it. Yeah.
Like that's problem. Does that include Jalen Hurts, or does that not include this Super Bowl?
Does not include this Super Bowl.
All right.
On the stats. 300,000 seems so criminal.
It's nuts, right? It's nuts. Looking back on it, it's crazy.
Russell Wilson was a 4th rounder. He's got to be on there.
He's on there. He was the one on there twice. 13 and 14. He was around less than half of a percent of the team salary, and he made $680,000.
So you said since 2000.
Since 2000.
Trent
Dilfer was not. He was on the list, but he made over 1%. He made 1.61%, $1 million on the dot.
I wasn't far off, by the way.
Baltimore's
1.61%.
$62 million that year.
Its salary cap's changed a little bit since 2000.
But when you put it in perspective, he made $1 million of $62 million. That's like he was less than one of a 53-man.
By the way,
that's how they looked at
we will be having the filmmakers from the Bullies of Baltimore on the show tomorrow. Ken Rogers and Jason Weber will join us to talk about 30 for 30, which airs on Sunday night.
I'm missing good stuff. My roommate is really excited about that.
Dude, it's great. If you're a Ravens fan, I don't know how invested the casual football fan will be in it. If you're a Ravens fan, it's amazing. I said that when they announced it. I don't
hope it
know.
gives vibes of the Hard Knocks.
It gives a lot of Hard Knocks vibes, and Tony Siragusa is the unquestionable star of this 30 for 30. Okay, so who am I? All right. Hang on
we got
a second.
Brady and Wilson.
Brady and Wilson are the only two that we come up with. I'm going to say he made Nick Foles.
He made $1.6 million. It was 0.96% of their salary that year.
And this is made the Super Bowl, not won the Super Bowl.
It's made and, both.
Right. So anybody who was in a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Kerry Collins.
No. I'm just trying to look. He was also in 2000. He was against Trent Dilfer, but he was 3.55%.
Money well spent.
When you look back on it, it's only $2 million though. Like just this year, in 2020, Tampa won the Super Bowl with Brady, but he was making $25 million.
Who am I forgetting about? Hang on. Don't say anything yet. Don't say anything yet. I'm just kind of racking my brain. Brad Johnson. I don't think it was Brad Johnson because I think he was a marquee free agent signing. Rex Grossman.
No, his
I might have the one.
Is at
1.5%. Go ahead.
Is it Colin Kaepernick?
It is Colin Kaepernick. Yeah. The year that you guys forked over all the money, the 49ers were doing the opposite and only paying him $1.1 million.
So wait a second. That was not yet when Joe Flacco had gotten paid. That was his final season of his rookie deal was that when they won the Super Bowl, and then they paid him after the Super Bowl. So he was still, I don't know what his percent was at that point, but it wouldn't have been a crazy number in that final.
Kaepernick was technically the backup to Alex Smith.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I got the more recent
Flacco
ones. I got Russell Wilson.
6.63%, $8 million a year.
Right, because he was still a first round pick in the final year of his rookie deal at that point. All right, that was a good tidbit. Well done. Nicely done, Charles. Appreciate that.
Yeah, Hurts and Burrow are making more money, or Hurts and Mahomes, I should say.
Well, I'm trying to think of what Hurts would have been, because Hurts was a second-round pick. So what would his number? Do we know what Hurts' number is for this season? I mean, I get it. It's good money, but it's not insane money. I don't think he's making $12 million. And I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I'll wait and find out in 1 second. What is it?
Base salary of $4.3 million.
Yeah.
Workout
Correct.
bonus of another $100,000. Yeah, so
Pretty good number to
4.4
have your
million.
quarterback at in order to build one of the great rosters in modern football history.
Yeah, but if you have Patrick Mahomes, you could trade away your best receiver, and you don't have to build around him.
Still
and,
somehow manage to find yourself
and
back
you're the
in the Super Bowl.
And you're the number one offense in the league and number one scoring and all that.
But again, he is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
He
he's once in a generation.
I thought it was funny that they kept making the point during the game last week, like their receiver room is like more decimated than the Ravens at this point. Like,
that's not true. Somebody tried bringing that up. The Ravens are taking their trash.
Sky Moore.
That's look, dude,
I'm saying
at
that point in the game.
I understand. They put Marcus Kemp out there. Like all, anybody knew who Marcus Kemp was. Marcus Kemp went on the field and was like, "What, me?"
I just love seeing Juju Smith-Schuster celebrate like he had a 15 reception game.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is the Ravens took the guys the Chiefs didn't want any. That's how bad the Ravens room is they said, God, DeMarcus Robinson stinks. We can't have him around. And the Ravens were like, sign us up.
It was so bad, though.
Give us your trash.
Mahomes on one leg had to run.
Dude,
to win the
I
game.
saw it. Like, I understand. I saw the thing. But I saw a lot of people doing that this week. Like, the Ravens are still somehow worse than that. Like, it's that bad in Baltimore that they were like, DeMarcus Robinson was the Ravens' number one wide receiver.
Do you see the Devontae Adams news or tweet that's making news?
Oh, yeah, that he wants Aaron Rodgers to come to Vegas.
He did
why wouldn't he?
Ask me anything, and one of the questions was, where's Rodgers going to be next year? And he's like, here.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you? If you're Devontae Adams, why wouldn't you want
And you know Carr's gone.
There was still a Ravens fan who responded to something we said this morning and was like, you're acting like Derek Carr wouldn't have won a playoff game with the Ravens this season. I'm like,
he has one playoff career game that he even made it to.
The same Derek Carr that couldn't get to the playoffs with Devontae Adams? That guy?
And Josh Jacobs, who had one of the best career year.
Monster years. Unbelievable. All right, here's what's coming up tonight, brought to you by PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Again, I can only tell you so many times, these offers will not last forever. At some point, these companies are going to pack up and go elsewhere. But you can bet $5 on any game right now on FanDuel and get $150 in free bets guaranteed if you click on the link at PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Do it right now. And don't forget, the gambling can be fun, but you should set a limit and stay within it. Remember that if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. ESPN tonight for the Pro Bowl Skills Showdown. Hell yeah!
Oh, yeah.
I think the Score put out like a preview or something like that.
Jesus Christ.
What's the line on the golfing?
I think Justin Tucker and Marlon Humphrey are doing the golf, and Marlon Humphrey and somebody else are doing dodgeball too. There's zero chance. I'm sorry.
Who clicks on the link? The notification says NFL Pro Bowl preview.
Let's just do it like a Goodell Simon Says at this point.
That's at 7 tonight on ESPN. Maryland women after that against Iowa at 8:30 on ESPN. Towson's at Hofstra tonight at 7 o'clock. It's a big game for them, by the way. Hofstra's one of the better teams in the CAA. 7 o'clock on Flow Hoops. The rest of the college basketball. Two Big Ten games tonight. Wisconsin, Ohio State at 7 on Fox Sports 1. Michigan, Northwestern at 7 on ESPN 2. All the rest of the college hoops find at glennclarkradio.com. TNT, Grizzlies, Cavaliers at 7:30. Clippers, Bucks at 10. Golf Channel Round 1 at Pebble Beach at 3 o'clock. NFL Network for the East-West Shrine Bowl tonight at 8:15. Some local prospects in that. Jacob Copeland, the wide receiver from Maryland, who was the transfer from Florida. Muhammad Ibrahim, the running back from Minnesota, who's from Baltimore. And P.J. Mustapher from Penn State, who's also from Baltimore, playing in the Shrine Bowl tonight on NFL Network. Non-sports highlights, yuck. Nothing is what I've got for you. Nothing.
Check your local streaming.
You can go
services.
I like that show Welcome to Flatch. It's on Fox, but it's very niche. It's for me. It's not for a lot of other people. But they're the season finale of that.
I watched Vengeance last night. That was a very good movie.
I don't know Vengeance. What's Vengeance?
It's a movie about it's a BJ Novak movie. He plays a guy.
Oh, you know what? I do remember that.
With the
yes,
podcast.
I do remember that.
Very good.
It was good.
I liked it.
I actually, I must hate myself because I decided I was going to spend some time with that 90s show this week.
Do you watch You People yet on Netflix?
I have not. This is the problem, right? When I sit down to watch something, I never have enough time to put a movie on. And so I just put shows on instead. And then I end up watching like 4 of them, realizing I did have enough time to watch a movie. What the hell is wrong with me? Why didn't I do that?
A Jew in media. It was relatable.
Sure. I want to watch You People, though. I do want to watch. I know the internet has not loved the idea of Jonah Hill. Really? Jonah Hill could pull Lauren London? Really?
That's all I've heard about
Yeah, the internet has not been thrilled with that. But, I mean, I will watch it anyway. I will watch the film at some point. I will give it a shot.
Do you want this audio that we teased?
Oh, that's right.
Tomorrow?
God, it's 12:23. What the hell happened here? All right, this was the guy, the PA announcer at the Wisconsin high school basketball
Let's hope
game.
it loads.
Oh, God, please tell me we did all this. I actually...
Shut up! And I should have done this for all fans, and I should have done this a lot earlier. Shut up!
Hang on, let it...
The WIAA is always looking for officials, and since you do such a good job from the stands, get on the floor, wear a striped shirt, and do it yourselves.
I would actually like.
And then they applauded it.
I mean, that's pretty good. I would like to know if this was, because a PA announcer at a high school basketball game could be anyone, right? Like, there are some schools where it's a kid, right? Like, hey, do you want to do this?
He doesn't sound like a senior. Like, he sounds a little older than that.
And that's the thing. He sounds like an adult. So a lot of times it's another teacher or somebody like that say, hey, we don't have a PA announcer. Could you come over and be the PA announcer on Friday night?
A lot of times the
like
officials
that
are also
it's like
sophomores
that
in college,
teacher,
you know?
Yeah, that's true. What's that?
It's like usually that history teacher.
Yeah,
That
correct.
just knows everything about sports and like.
Correct. They're like,
Yeah,
we need somebody to do it. Okay, I'll come over.
They don't want him to be the basketball coach per se. But,
Correct.
you know,
100%.
he'll be PA announcer.
I love that. I think that's wonderful. God knows how many times have you gone to a game where you're sick of it. Like, you're just shut up already.
And every parent thinks that their kid's the best, and their kid gets. It's just.
I love it.
You know.
I love it. That's awesome. Good stuff, man. All right, Charles, you're on social.
Charles AP 28 on Instagram.
Very good. Give him a follow. Rami, first of all, thank you for all of your help.
Oh,
this
my
week.
pleasure.
Been
I had a
great
great time.
having
Thank
you
you.
in the last 3 days. Our buddy Zach Goodman from the Bat-Around is going to sit in tomorrow until Griffin gets back. But
I get kicked out.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You really failed us.
Yeah.
Rami's came over here, had no idea what he's doing. I just said, hey, man, got an opportunity. He was like, I'd love to. And so I really appreciate you doing that. Remind everybody about you on social and your podcast.
So social media, Twitter is Rami_Lavi. That's RAMI_LAVI. And Instagram, Rami.Lavi, also RAMI. And then .LAV. I actually have 3 Instagram accounts. I won't give you all of them, but I'm a chef, and then I have my podcast account. But I host a podcast. It's called the Rami Lavi Podcast. Very original name, and it's available Odyssey.
By the way,
Apple.
that was the original name that we were considering for this show. Believe it or not, for this show, Glenn Clark Radio almost became the Rami Lavi Podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
It was weird how that worked.
Somehow you threw your name into it.
I don't know why I would do that.
So the Rami Lavi Podcast is available on Odyssey, Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you for your
thank
hard
you.
work this week. All right, thanks today to Walt Williams. Thanks to Brandon Williams, as well as to Reeta Not Williams. We'll get all of that up in the Greatest Hits section at glennclarkradio.com. On the program tomorrow, Stan the Fan will be in studio. We are going to catch up with, as I mentioned, the filmmakers from the 30 for 30 Baltimore Bullies. Jason Weber, Ken Rogers will join us tomorrow morning. And also Darren O'Day, former Orioles pitcher who, of course, announced his retirement from baseball.
Biggest retirement of the week.
Yes, obviously. Well, Pete Caringi was the biggest retirement of the week, but Darren O'Day was number 2,
Right,
clearly.
right. And then there was some random football player, 50-year-old.
I don't remember the guy. But we will catch up with Darren O'Day, who was a huge part of those really good Orioles teams in the 2010s. So we'll look forward to that. All right. Thanks today to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Baltimore County Police Department, Problem Gambling, Royal Farms, Casa Sin, Maryland Jockey Club, Grade 8 Memorabilia, Maryland Vascular Specialists, UMBC Athletics, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks, as always, to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. As you follow him, follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And Charles next week is going to relaunch our TikTok content. Looking forward to that. He's got some new, fresh ideas, which is good, because I don't have any of those. I'm 80. So make sure you're following us at Glenn Clark Radio, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Have a great Thursday night. Go Maryland women, go Towson. Duke sucks.